Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. What is going on? What is happening? What are you up to? As we hang on out here waiting for the show to get going, and our guest tonight, Brandon Wainwright. This man is a man, a myth, and a legend all rolled into one. He's a good dude, and this is his first ever big time interview, so we got to go easy on him. We got to lay the tracks down so that way he isn't scared to come back. But I'll tell you, I've talked to this guy a couple of times now, and this is one fantastic show we are going to have tonight. Gold medal position tonight goes to Cloudy with a chance of UFOs. Race Fan is in second, taking home the silver. The gorgeous Emily Bigelow rounds out the medal positions with the bronze. Alaska's greatest athlete jumps into medal contention once again. Hello, Jack Clark. How you doing, buddy? Ed Clater, good to see you. The gorgeous and talented Cosmic Floor has arrived. James Fadke, good to see you. The stunning Laura Stevens has arrived as well. Steam Train Mark in Australia, how's tomorrow looking? Please give us an update from the future. We'd appreciate that. Hey, Brother Andrew, what's happening, man? Hope you're trucking easy. Jay Breezy, good to see you. Mama Susan, the lovely and talented Jules is here. Hello, luscious Jules. And the gorgeous Julie K has arrived. Yeah, she took a few nights off, but she is back with vengeance. Open-minded Clarity, good to see you. Nice to have you back. And thank you for the update, Steam Train Mark. We appreciate that. Steve Edmond and Gabe Roca, how are you guys? Thank you for joining us. John Swan, nice to see you. Sultry Susie, Mama Susan, nice to have you here. Mondak and Amuamua and Little Deborah are here, everyone. Good to see them. Kimberly Jackshaw is here. Kimberly will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, to the left. Paul Holland is here. How you doing, Paul? Good to see you. And Jennifer Lane looking good tonight. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate that. Z-Hut, how you doing? Or if you're in Canada, Z-Hut. Z-Hut. Yeah, I went there, man. Totally went there. All right. See who else is hiding in the chat rooms. The gorgeous Jenny Metz is here. There she is. Give us a wave, Jenny. We need it. We need a good wave from you. All right. BG's. Chad Smith is here. Chad will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the right of the studio. So you have Kimberly on the left, Chad on the right. Chad doesn't like eye contact, people, just so you know. So make sure that when you get his autograph, you don't make eye contact. He will rip up the autograph. BG's, how you doing? Richard Elmore, $5,900. Dry Toast, the best name on YouTube, right there. Travis DeLuca, Jerry O'Brien, Jason, how you guys doing tonight? And, hey, it's good to have you back on the night shift so you can listen on in, Jason. JR, what's happening? Thank you for joining us. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got aliens, buddy. Yes, you do. Dirty Filth and the gorgeous Sherry Knight are here, everyone. UAP Toronto, what is happening? And I didn't call you meaty toes. I don't know where you're getting that from. Kufunia, how are you? Long time no see. I'm so happy you're here. And who am I missing? SJ, Jason 1331. What's happening? And I think I'm caught up for right now. Oh, there's Ozzy, Sister, Project Blue Book. Shruminati, what's happening? Good to have you here. You mean Ozzy went on a road trip without us? You know, he does know he can still tune in, right? Jesus. Always listening, and some nights I just get involved in the stories. You just listen. Okay. What comes up with your name is Meaty Toes? I don't get that, dude. I honestly don't get that. I know you're UAP Toronto. I honestly don't get that, dude. Oh, well. Fapster, what's going on? How you doing, brother? Give me an update on how you're doing, man, because I need to know. Dave looking like he should be doing the show from a tree stand hunting deer with that shirt. Yes, this is true. This is very true. And our guest tonight, Brandon Wainwright. Yeah, this man here, I'll tell you, this man could be on the old 80s television show Chips. He could pass for John partner up with Punch. Literally.
Yeah. Minus the mustache?
No.
I guess they didn't have them, huh?
No, yeah. They didn't have, but you'd look good with a rockin' stash, man. You'd look good. Eli, welcome to our chat room. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Okay, guys, we got about 27 seconds before we're going to launch the show. Want to remind you, a great way to support this show if you're new, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and it'll really help us out. Also, the super chat is open for anybody who decides they want to drop a super chat. We do thank you, and you will get a personal thank you from me. And we're going to have one hell of a show tonight. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Why? Because we're just that damn good. We are. So let's do this thing right now. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. I'm telling you, we're in for a great night tonight because on April of 2018, author Brandon Wainwright and his family lost their dog Tyson to a brain tumor. It was an inevitable experience that comes with being a pet owner, but he was devastated nonetheless. As someone who has always struggled with organized religion, Brandon didn't have any specific beliefs about the afterlife, and he struggled to make peace with the loss of his best friend. After Tyson began communicating from the other side, Brandon quickly found himself launched into a life-changing spiritual awakening. Brandon is an animal lover, Reiki practitioner, and a police officer. He resides with his wife, daughter, 2 dogs, and a chinchilla in the San Francisco Bay Area. Brandon, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time, man. How you doing?
Hi, Dave. Doing well. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
You enjoy being in the weirdo club now or what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's where I belonged all along. I just, didn't realize it.
Well, it's good to have you here because, and thank you for your service, being a police officer and putting yourself on the line of duty each and every night for us. We really do appreciate that. My friend, I want to learn a little bit about you. As in the intro, you stated you weren't really into all this paranormal hubbub and the woo and everything that kind of goes along with it. What was life before this experience?
Well, I'd been opened up, like my dad was, kind of dabbled in new age stuff. So did my stepmom. So I wasn't completely ignorant of the ideas, but I had never really delved in myself. And they hadn't for a long, long time since I had been, my dad before I was born and my stepmom before she came into my life. So I kind of knew of it in an abstract sense. Religion wise, I tried several religions on over the years, and none of them really took. I couldn't buy into them. Not to say that there's anything wrong with religion. If it brings you peace, I'm all for it. But for me, it didn't work. And so at one point, I was even engaged to a girl that was very devout to her religion. And ultimately we broke up because I couldn't buy into the religion. So, it was one of those things that I definitely struggled with a lot. I had come to a place where I believe that there was more. I believe that there was an afterlife of some kind and that there was a higher order, but I didn't know what that was. I didn't know if the afterlife meant that we continued to exist, but in a form that we wouldn't recognize right now, that we wouldn't even be aware of the life that we had had. I didn't know what that meant. But I was okay with it because I didn't believe that we could know what that meant. And I just was being realistic about it. And I just made peace with that. That was until my dog Tyson passed away, and that changed everything for me.
Okay, so you go and write this book, and we're going to get into the Tyson story a little bit later on, but I want to learn about you. You know,
Mm.
being an officer of the law, you guys get called into some pretty weird and spooky places at times. Have you ever been called into a house that's haunted? Have you ever been called to a UFO sighting or anything like that where people are just weirded right out?
Um, no, actually, I mean, I should clarify too. I patrol parklands mostly, so I don't go into a lot of houses. And I've never been to a UFO call, although I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. There's a lot of areas that I patrol where there's weird vibes, lots of deep forests and things like that. I have been in a haunted situation in a forest, but though not on duty, but it was
You got to tell you got. I'm cutting you off right there. Just stop right there, man, and tell us this story.
Okay, so I hadn't even been thinking about this, so this is totally improvised here. So when I was in college, I went to UC Santa Cruz, which there's all kinds of weird energy in Santa Cruz. They say keep Santa Cruz weird, right? So my senior year, I had a friend. My closest friend lived up in Bonnie Doon, which is in the mountains above where the campus was there in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And I was right in the thick of like this most stressful time in my college career. I was trying to finish my senior film projects. I was in a play. We were taking senior comprehensive exams, and I was on my little Honda Riva 180 scooter riding up into the hills to have dinner with this guy. Right, it's pitch black dark. My nerves are shot because I'm stressed from school, and I just get this sense that something is following me, and I'm thinking to myself, well, this has got to be just my nerves. I'm creating this in my head. So I just kind of ignore it and keep going, right? So I get up to his house, and he lived in a cabin that was it was a residence for the owner of the property that he lived on when the guy was building the home. So it was this little cabin that was down a trail from where the parking area was. This is before cell phones. I didn't have a flashlight on me or anything like that. And the trail was kind of treacherous that led to his cabin. And he was on the phone with his dad on no cell phone. So he was on the landline, and he hadn't talked to his dad for a while. And so I pull up, and I'm sitting there out in this dark driveway, and you can see the light to his cabin from where I'm sitting. It's maybe, I don't know, 50 yards away. So I call out to him, Pete, I'm here. All right, I'll be out in a minute. I'm on the phone with my dad. So I'm sitting there, right? And I slowly but surely, I just feel like there's things creeping in on me. I feel like I'm being stalked, and I'm asking, am I going nuts here? What the fuck? Pardon me. What? Sorry, what's going on here? Am I being stalked or what? So I call out to him, hey Pete, I'm hanging out here. Come out and get me. And he says, I'll be out in a minute. So he doesn't realize what's happening, and I'm not sure that I'm hallucinating or what. So I finally got to the point where I got so spooked, my survival instincts overrode my reason, and I just said, I'm out, and I took off. I went home, couldn't wait anymore. And when I got about, I don't know, a quarter mile, half a mile away from where I was at, and toward getting that back out towards the coast, I stopped having the feeling, but it was palpable. Like I to this day, I know that there was something there, because there's no way that things would spin out of control that much. So,
what were you feeling?
Just like if you've ever been in a situation where you knew that there was a threat present. Where the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you feel like you're in danger, like you're super scared. You just know, you can't put a finger on it. You just know that something is wrong. And like I said, I questioned it. I wasn't fast to drive away, but it got so intense that I just decided it's time to get the heck out.
I don't blame you.
So I don't blame you. Yeah. And when I told him about it, he's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, I totally get it. He says, I've had similar feelings before. And apparently there was a guy that lived in the property adjacent to them that had attacked some girl or something like that. He was like, I don't know the full story, but there was some gnarly thing that had happened. But Santa Cruz is a weird place, man. There's all kinds of sketchy stuff that goes on there. So yeah, that was out in the woods, you know.
Okay, so you're somebody who patrols the forest to make sure that everything's a-okay, and I think that's really cool. Anything to do with Bigfoot? Come on. I can
No,
tell by your face you
no,
cannot.
I'm just laughing because of course you're going to ask me that. No, I never. Do you know? This is the crazy thing too. I've lived out in the woods. I've worked. I've been in parks law enforcement since 2009, and I've never seen a mountain lion. You know,
Yeah.
they're out there. I've seen lots of other wildlife, and I've seen bobcats, coyotes, deer. You know, all kinds of different types of raptors and things like that. But I've never seen, other than on camera. I know they're out there, but you know, the thing is, you gotta realize too, though, I'm parks in the San Francisco Bay Area, so it's a very urban interface.
Right.
You
Have
know,
you ever had interaction face to face with a cougar?
I've never even seen one.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
dude. I went outside this a couple years ago now. I went outside during one of the breaks just to it was a fall night. And it was a gorgeous night. I was checking to see if the northern lights were out. And I got growled at in my backyard from a cougar. And I was like, I'm like, my studio being in the house here, I gotta, I walk out the studio, then I have to walk out through the downstairs to get to my carport, and then I walked out to the end of my carport, and I'm just standing there looking up at into the sky, and grrr. And this is like my backyard. There's no lights in my area. There's no street lamps or anything, and my backyard kind of slopes. I knew he was on the other side of that slope walking. And I just said to him, okay, I said, okay, I'm heading over towards the door. The light is going to come on. You're going to see me, and I'm not leaving there. And that's where it ended, man. But I've seen a cougar in my neighbor's yard right beside me. And I wouldn't have seen it if my dog didn't start growling at it. And then I've seen one other one.
Wow.
But right now, we just got told on Facebook here that there's a cougar prowling around our area here. So
yeah, they're definitely out there. I remember when I was a state ranger, I remember them saying that there were at least 5 just within like a mile radius within one of our parks, and they're there, but they're just very good at not being seen. So, you know, they don't want any trouble. So
have you ever had people attacked?
No. I actually, the only thing, the coyotes attack on occasion, although even that's really rare. Last year we had a coyote attack a little kid, and the Fish and Wildlife said that was the first time in that particular officer's career that he'd ever come across something like that. They go after dogs all the time. You know, that's a common occurrence, but even that, I haven't heard that much of in the parks, just because we, you know, again, it's an urban interface, so there's quite a lot of foot traffic in our parks compared to like probably where you live.
You get a lot of people go missing there, because I know David Politis with his missing 411 is always looking into strange cases.
No, no. I haven't had too much of that. We've had a lot of times. This is something different, you know. It's not so much paranormal, but we get bodies dumped in the parks frequently, you know.
Well, that's pleasant.
But that's something different. Usually when they go missing, there's a more conventional explanation to it, but that we don't get them that often, no.
Oh well, geez, you need people to go missing. We need some David Politis.
They probably do.
We need some David Politis stuff kind of going on here, but that's okay. That's not why we got you on the show tonight. No. Had you ever seen a ghost previous to Tyson, your dog, coming by?
Yeah. So when I was in high school, the house that my parents still live in, my dad and stepmom, One night I was sitting at the dinner table, and where I would sit faced our hallway, which direct down the hallway would be a bathroom, and then there was 2 bedrooms on one side of the hallway and my parents' room on the other. Well, one night I'm eating, and out of the corner of my eye I see this movement. I look up and I see what I thought was a cat moving from my parents' room to my brother's room. And what I think I caught was probably the back of the leg of whatever it was. And I mean, it moved real slow and perfectly fluid. And I actually asked the family, are we babysitting someone's cat? And I was serious. And Carla, my stepmom, says, no. And I jokingly said, oh, it must be a ghost. And Carla says, it is. Now, Carla is connected that way. Like I was saying before, she doesn't practice so much now, but she still has the ability. She just hasn't honed it in a while. But what she said was that she frequently saw this ghost in our house, details all the way down to what the clothing looked like. So eventually, probably like after I graduated from college, like the sightings went on up until that point, approximately when I got out of college. So like another 5 or 6 years or so.
That is cool. That is cool.
Well, and we lived it after I came back from LA. I was telling you about when I worked in LA on movies and television. When I moved back to the Bay Area from there, I lived with a roommate in Pleasant Hill, Concord area. And we lived in a house that was super haunted. Like, never actually saw anything with my eyes, but I heard things and I felt things and so did everybody else in the house. So, yeah.
What was going on in that house?
Well, before I moved in, there was my friend, a friend of his, and my friend's cousin lived in this house. The friend, in his room, he several times woke up in the night and saw orbs, flying over his bed. And then one night, again, I didn't witness this, but I trusted it happened just based on my own experiences. Plus, my friend wouldn't lie about something like this. But I guess one night, all of a sudden, whatever this thing was started slamming the closet door. It was a sliding closet door in this bedroom. I mean, like pow, 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 pow. And like my friend wakes up freaking out, like, what the hell's going on over there? So he barges into the room, and Adam, the friend, is curled like cowered in the corner in a ball, just scared to death.
No kidding.
And then there was another time when the same guy, Adam, they had a Spawn. Remember the action figure, or the Marvel Spawn? They had a big action figure of it on the mantle in this house. It was an early 20s bachelor pad. So, and I guess as Adam walked by it, the figurine flew across the room out of nowhere. So there was that. And then from my own personal experiences, when I moved in there, it was just this really uneasy feeling in the house. And you just feel like you're being watched all the time. I remember I was cleaning the bathroom, and I'm down in the shower, scrubbing the shower, and I just feel like something's right there, just glaring at me, and it super creepy. And you just knew something was off. I just started to sort of put it out of my mind, try not to think about it. But the other thing was when I first moved in there was, like I said, there was my buddy, his cousin, and the other guy. So the only place for me to live was in the garage. So kind of turned the garage into a bedroom. So the rafters were open and right above me. And when I would sleep at night, I just felt like there was something up in those rafters. I just felt like I was being watched. And later when I talked to my buddy, what he told me was that he was convinced that there was just some really dark entity that was up there that just did not want to be disturbed. And so I just kind of put it out of my mind, I didn't worry about it too much. But there was another time when eventually his friend moved out, and I took that room where the orbs had been and where the slamming had gone on. And one night, the other thing was the tension between me and my buddy grew more and more and more as we lived in this house. I mean, part of it was just things we were going through at the time, but I think some of it had to do with the energy in the house. So anyway, one night I'm sitting there in my room, and I hear something. Okay, so got this bedroom, hallway, bedroom, and there's closets that are back to back, and with the two bedrooms at the end of the hallway. I can hear something up on the shelf in his closet crawling, like something heavy crawling along on the shelf. So, and at the time, he and I weren't getting along. So I was like, what the hell is he doing up in this freaking, closet? So I come out into the living room and I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he looks at me, he's all disgusted and irritated. What do you mean? Because we hadn't been getting along. I said, dude, I just heard you in the closet, crawling around the closet. And his face goes white. And he's like, dude, he says, there's a ghost in this house. I'm telling you, all of a sudden, it's like anything else, when there's a threat that's greater than your adversary, all of a sudden your adversary becomes your friend, right? And all of a sudden we're getting along, and we're telling each other the stories about these horrible vibes we've had in this house. And ever since then, we still talk about that place. And one night I actually patrol an area, right? There's a trail near there that I go to. And when I was working the night shift, I drove over there one night just to look at the house. And that house, man, there's something up with that house. I want to knock on the door and ask them, do you have weird experiences here? Because we certainly did. So I definitely, I've had my experiences, no doubt.
That sounds so familiar. I worked in a haunted hockey rink in a training facility.
Blades.
And dude, there was weird stuff happening there, and nobody believed me. Like, the owners didn't believe me, and one of the owners did. The other one, he was like, whatever, and sometimes we'd sleep there because, you'd work the late shift. Somebody would get off the ice. By the time you got everything cleaned up, it was like 12 o'clock. I'm like 21 years old at this time. And then you got to be right back at 5 o'clock in the morning to open up the rink for morning hockey practice. So anyways, this one time I was cleaning up the rink, and my cousin and his girlfriend were there, and I'm going through the dressing rooms. I'm sweeping them up, and we hear, it's just us three in this training facility. And all of a sudden we start hearing pucks slamming off the glass and the boards. It's a very distinct sound.
Yeah.
If you've been around a hockey rink, you know what a puck hitting the board sounds like, and you know what it sounds like hitting the glass. And I'm like, strange. I thought everybody was gone. So we walk out to the hockey rink. It's only like 20 feet from where we were. And of course, there's nobody on the ice. There's no pucks on the ice. Nothing. It was a freaky, freaky place. So eventually when I went off to college, I quit. I went off to college, and the business ended up going under, and they put in one of those children jungle gym places. So I said to the lady, so my daughter at the time was going to a birthday party there. So I met the owner and I said, so got any strange things happening around here? Went ghost white. She's like, every night I'm here cleaning, there's movement in the ball pits. And I'm like, yeah, that's the ghosts. Brandon, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because when we come back from the break here, we're going to find out about Tyson. Beautiful little dog way up in doggy heaven who decided to come back and say hello. Author Brandon Wainwright is our guest. We'll talk to him about some ghosts and his ghost dog right after this on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear.
Sweet.
Nice. Good first half hour. Solid.
Yeah. All these stories I hadn't even been thinking about.
Oh, yeah, man. Told you I'd get you out of it. All right. Let's say hello to a bunch of people just came in. Mennonite Abe, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. All right. Black Rabbit, good to have you here. And who else came in here? Magnus, what's happening? Silent Edge Videos, good to see you. And I think we're caught up there. Yeah, man. We're having a good night. Having a good night. Aussie Steve, what's happening? What is happening? Thank you to Carl and Joshua for the super chats. Kicking off the super chat tonight. We really do appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. Really do appreciate it. You having fun so far, Brandon?
Oh, yeah. No, this is cool. You're right. You just put me at ease. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ask regular old questions instead of, straight to the point.
Yeah, let's just talk some stories, man. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, I can't wait for you to see a cougar. I'm surprised you haven't got Sasquatch.
I think it's where we are. I mean, there's a lot of open space, but I don't think they could hide. I don't think they could, fly under the radar very well there. It's just too many people around.
Right.
Unless they are interdimensional beings.
Never know. Never know. Jose, what's happening, brother? The gorgeous and talented Manitoba Becky has arrived. They call her the Wheat Queen in Brandon. Yes, the Wheat Queen. Yes. Yeah, my area. Hey, Cecil, how you doing, buddy? My area here, there is stuff going on. I just cannot find it. Cannot find it.
How long ago did you see the Sasquatch?
Well, I had my Sasquatch encounter. Well, I've had a couple of them, but where I actually saw the creatures back in 2013. This is when I lived an hour outside of Vancouver. And, but up here, we found some footprints. My buddy Mike, who I'm surprised he's not in the chat room tonight, he got freaked out today by something. Yeah, he got freaked out today, and he caught audio on it on his GoPro. I don't know the full story yet, but hopefully he stops by tomorrow and we can talk about it. But it freaked it. Like, this is a guy, he's been around bears and cougars, and he's a hunter. Like, nothing really phases him. This scared him, whatever it was. Wow. It scared him. So we'll find out. Hey, UAP Toronto, I saw that picture on Twitter. I don't know what the hell that is, dude, but that is awesome. That is just awesome. At Meaty Toes. Very nice. I don't know what that means, but that is awesome. Gorgeous Kim Jellin, how are you? And James Short. No, that's not Merle. Merle doesn't come on for another 2 weeks here. Don't you worry, never fear. Merle will soon be here. To Aikanator, good to have you back, man. Abe, thank you for that super chat, Mennonite Abe. Really do appreciate that. I'm having a good time tonight. I'm having a good time. It's a lot of fun. So Kevin has returned, everyone. What name, Fap? What name? Meaty Toes? Because I think that's funny. I think that's funny. The gorgeous and talented Jordan Ashley Pettit has returned. Give everybody a wave, Jordan. Kevin, good to see you, buddy. You can't see me. I'm in camouflage. If you want to book something, go to bookings@spacedoutradio.com. Bookings@spacedoutradio.com. There you go. I typed that in. And yeah, we're having a good time tonight. We got about 30 seconds here.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I got it. What about Meaty Toes for the band name? Meaty Toes. Merle would be a good band name. All right, 15 seconds. Thank you to Mennonite Abe, Joshua, and Carl for the super chats. If you're new, hey, gorgeous raspberries, good to see you. If you're new, thank you for hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell. And hi to all the veterans out there. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with author Brandon Wainwright. We're going to learn about his dog, Tyson. Tyson passed away a few years ago, but something weird happened, and we're going to get Brandon to tell us all about it. Brandon, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave. Good to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Before we talk about Tyson, let's talk about your book. What's it called? Yeah. Where can people find it?
Well, it's called Tyson's Gift: How an 8-Pound Canine Became a Man's Greatest Spiritual Guide. Right now, you can find it on my website, tysonsgift.com. You can also get it on amazon.com. At some points in the near future, it'll be on barnesandnoble.com as well. And I'm trying to get it onto Ingram Spark. So it'll be available in all those places. But right now, the easiest way to get it would be to just go to tysonsgift.com. And there's a link there that you can follow to go straight to Amazon.
Well, I'm going to tell you, man, I put up our thought of the Dave today, which had to do with being visited from the other side. And I couldn't believe how many people responded by their pets coming through. This is something that happens a lot more than what we think about. We could talk about that a little bit more because I've had my own experience with that as well. But for you, tell us about Tyson.
Well, again, it wasn't really in my wheelhouse there. I mean, I certainly thought of, obviously I believe the ghost could visit you and stuff because I'd had those experiences before, but I didn't think that Tyson probably would be a ghost because he was a peaceful little soul, ultimately, and I didn't think he would stick around anyway. So for me, basically what happened was that what started the whole thing was me opening up to the possibilities of this and becoming more cognizant of my, spiritual surroundings, I guess, if you will. Because I didn't have that religious paradigm to reflect on and make peace with as far as, what happened to Tyson after he passed away, that became kind of a sticking point for me. As I was trying to process the loss of him, it was real difficult for me to move forward because he was like a combination between my little buddy, my best friend, like a son, like a soulmate and a child, so it was different. I'd lost plenty of people. I'm 48 years old at this point. I was 45 or somewhere in that ballpark. And, so I'd lost many loved ones before that, but I'd always just been like, well, it is what it is. It's, I'm sure they're fine. But when it's an innocent like that, it's a different, you process it differently. So I slowly started to realize that what I'm struggling with is this afterlife concept. I need to know that he's okay. So I found myself, I actually searched out, I went on to Amazon and I punched in animals in the afterlife, just specifically, just thinking maybe there's a book about it, whether fiction, nonfiction, whatever it was. I was just looking for some sense of peace about it. And I find this book, Animals in and the Afterlife. It was kind of almost the exact title that I punched in. And so I read this book, and it had all these stories about, and it was nonfiction, had all these stories about animal communicators and reincarnation stories from the author herself. It was all firsthand accounts, and it was so compelling. I thought, and mind you, this is a naturopathic doctor, so she's not a kook. You know, it wasn't somebody that I thought would be making this stuff up. And the stories were so compelling. I was like, you know, this isn't something I would normally even give any credibility to, but you know, it was like the perfect storm. I was in so much pain over losing Tyson, and the stories were so compelling that it opened me up and made me decide to go ahead and try it out myself. So I actually reached out to some of the communicators that she had talked about in the book, and you know, thinking, I can't believe I'm actually making an appointment to talk to my dead dog. I mean, you know, here I am, a police officer, you know, who's never really been open to this sort of thing. I mean, not to this extent. And I thought I might lose my mind, but you know, it just made sense. If we live on, then what's so crazy about the idea that we could communicate with the afterlife? The more I thought about it, it's just outside the box is all. So anyway, long story short, I ended up having some really compelling, like life-changing experiences with a communicator, and then also with a spiritual medium, and I had communications not only with Tyson, but with loved ones. I had my grandma, my aunt, my uncle, all these different people came through where. And the information was so specific. I'll give you one example that was, to me, was just blew my socks off. My uncle passed away when I was 16, and what we thought was that he passed from Hodgkin's lymphoma, and that was the story that was given at the time anyway. But he, you know, this is back in the late 80s, and homosexuality wasn't as easy to come out with at the time. And long story short, he was in the closet still, although I was too young to even care whether he was gay or straight, to be honest with you, but people knew it. And after he passed away, talking to my mom and my dad, they believed there was a real good chance he had passed from AIDS. Okay, so he comes through with this medium. And you know, she asked me, did he pass tragically? And I said, no, he died from Hodgkin's disease. And she says, no, he didn't. He died from AIDS, something AIDS related. And I mean, it was like, you're not going to say that to somebody unless you're pretty damn sure about it, you know? So that's just one example. I had this session with the medium for 2 hours, and everything that she said was dead on accurate. And it was so, like I said, it was so specific. I actually felt like, and these were people that I hadn't even really, you know, they'd passed. My grandma and my uncle passed when I was a teenager, and here I am in my mid 40s. It wasn't something that was really on my mind that much, if at all. I wasn't expecting them to come through, but it was so specific. It changed me. I realized that this is for real, man. This is really for real. The other thing that came through. One other example was that Tyson had a bum. His rear right hip was disintegrated basically when he was born. It never really developed, so he ended up with this jagged, gnarled mass where the ball joint would have been, and it caused him a lot of discomfort. And unfortunately, we waited longer than we should have to have it removed, and eventually we did, and it helped him a lot, but. He always walked around with his leg up, so because he didn't want to put weight down on it. Well, over time, that caused arthritis in his right front leg because he was compensating for the weight being brought up on the right rear. And she says to me, "So Tyson was very masculine, wasn't he? And he might have been an 8-pound Chihuahua Dachshund mix, but he had a real swagger about him." And so, yeah, he was very masculine. I said, absolutely. And she says, but yet he was very frail. And which is an odd juxtaposition. And I said, yeah, he was. And she said, yeah, because I'm getting pain in my right rear, like down by my hip, and it's moving all the way up the right front of my body. It's not my pain, it's his pain. And I was like, okay. All right, this is the real deal. This is for real, and it completely changed my way of thinking about all this stuff. I realized, no, we really do live on, and there really is other planes of reality, and you really can communicate with the afterlife. And so, long story short, yeah. So those were the initial communications, and then I started trying to expand my metaphysical practices, and then I ended up having several pretty intense visitations. I ended up having them later. It happened a while later, but everybody in my family ended up having some kind of visitation from them. So
Interesting.
But I don't know that I would have necessarily been open to it. I don't know that I would have perceived those things necessarily, or my family members, if I hadn't been so cognizant of all this stuff, And I know skeptics would say, well, that means you probably are projecting it. It's not that. I wasn't desperate for these visitations at all. It was just that I was more open, and when you have a belief that something is possible, well, it means that you're going to be able to see it easier.
You know what's funny is my dog that passed away about 1.5 years ago, coming up 2 years here in August, that was a Chihuahua Dachshund too.
Oh, was he? Was it a girl?
Yeah,
boy?
It was a girl. I named her Zero.
All right, right on.
Yeah, but she was just my little cuddle monkey, and like I laugh about it now, but she was just a little pig. She was just like, if there was food, she would push the big dogs out of the way, and she would be like, that's mine. And she actually had a heart attack while she was eating a hot dog. Oh. And she totally went Mama Cass and got food stuck, a hot dog stuck in her throat. And I couldn't bring her up. She's buried in my backyard now, but it's funny because now I look at it, I'm like, damn, like she went exactly the way she would want, which is eating. Like, how do you be upset about that? But
how old was she at the time?
10.
Wow.
And but the interesting part about it was that first night that she was gone, I actually saw her shadow, because she used to sleep on my bed, and I'd always have to, when I came up to go to bed from the show, I would always have to move her over. And so I said, "Come on, Zero, up you go." And I actually felt her get up off the bed, and her spirit walked away, and all of a sudden there was nothing there. And the second time that happened, I felt her on my bed again by my feet, and then it disappeared. But then one of our ghost cats jumped up, because we had 2 cats who passed away at this house. One was very elderly, and one just got real ill. And one of the ghost cats jumped on top of me. Wow. Right after she disappeared. So I was like, holy cow, this is...
You perceive the full weight of her?
Oh, yeah. Like, here I am lying on my stomach, because I'm like watching YouTube, and all of a sudden I felt the cat hop on my ass. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me right now. You got to be kidding me. But
when the night that Tyson passed away, my wife was very close to Tyson as well, and she woke up and she heard him yelping to be picked up from the side of the bed, and she looked down and saw him on the side of the bed, and she picked him up, perceived his full weight, felt like, set him on her lap, and as she set him on her lap, he disappeared.
No way.
And that, my wife is more, I would say it's interesting, 'cause she was more religious, but more spiritually open, I guess you could say, at the time. And I was hoping to have some kind of experience like that, but I didn't end up having that. I had experiences later, but like, we're talking like over 1 year later before I really had anything like that happen to me. But yeah, she's, which was pretty amazing. One of the things that was real comfort to me was right after, well, I guess it was maybe 2 days after he passed away. I mean, it was pretty brutal. And my wife and I were in our backyard, and we're sitting out there drinking, and we had a glass of wine together, and I was talking to her. We toasted Tyson, and she was pretty devout, kind of religious, but she's a lot more open-minded than most religious people are that are really really devout. So I guess you could say she's kind of halfway. But anyway, she says to me, I think that heaven is right here. I think that heaven is right here where we can perceive it and where it can perceive us. And which was like kind of blew me away. And it was, I didn't really realize it at the time, but it was something that gave me, it sparked a kind of an openness in me. I think that contributed to me being more open to the possibility of reaching out to this stuff. Cause it was like, wow, coming from her, that's pretty profound, So it was a process of cracking open a very tough shell, and this tough spiritual shell in me,
I can see that.
Yeah. Because the thing is, I had tried so hard to open up to these other, belief systems. But the problem is I equated religion with spirituality, and I didn't, I not exactly. I guess I equated what you could define spiritually with religion. Otherwise, I just thought it was all stuff that you could never really define. And I didn't realize that there was such a robust, metaphysical world out there, because I hadn't really delved into it myself. I don't know. Glad I did, though. It's changed my life.
Well, I can see that. When you had that first experience with Tyson, your dog, from the other side, what were you feeling at that time? Because I know you were hurting from the loss. From the time he passed until the time you actually experienced something really supernatural, how long was that?
Let's see. Well, he passed away like in August or April of 2018. I would say it was right around June of 2019 when I had, or maybe May or June, somewhere in that ballpark of 2019. So, I had in the interim between the time he had passed and that time, I had taken the first 2 levels of Reiki. I had a number of psychic or mediumship readings done, one psychic reading, like spiritual guidance reading done. So I had been definitely and I was doing a daily practice of meditation, which I still do. And so it was, my whole spiritual perspective and openness to that, had shifted a lot in that period of time. But I think even there, I think Tyson had something to do with making it possible for me to perceive him.
So you look at the connection that you had with your dog as more than just, family pet. Like, this was true family, as most of us do with our dogs and cats, for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I would have taken a bullet for this dog. And actually, I would for my dogs now, but it was on a whole nother level of than I had experienced up to that point in my life, for sure. Yeah. And, and looking back on it, and after all the connection I've had with him since, and the insight I've gotten from intuitives, he and we have a pretty long lineage together. So, we are family, literally, like soul family.
What made you write the book?
Well, with all the experiences that I was having, it just was like, this is pretty compelling stuff. And I thought, man, if I could share this story with other hardheads like myself, that might be struggling with the loss of an animal or loved or human, but especially with an animal, if I could help them to see that this isn't the end of the line. This is just a change in the current the current situation. It's just, they're just on another plane is all. That's for most people, maybe not the people in your audience, but for the vast majority of people that are like I was prior to this experience, the concept of the afterlife, I think, even for the most devout religious people, it's still an abstract for most people. It's an idea, it's something that they latch onto to give themselves peace, which is, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's not, but I had an experience that taught me without doubt that this was real. This was, and I still continue to have these experiences. So if I could share my story, and open, have it help other people that are in the same situation, that might open them up enough to where they can do their own exploration. Because the thing is, I can tell this story until I'm blue in the face. It's not going to have the same impact for people as if they experience it for themselves. And that's just a reality. Unless maybe not your audience again, but for somebody that's less open to this sort of thing, or somebody that's never had these types of experiences, I wanted to write it as a service. Also I wanted to memorialize my boy's life. I wanted to honor him. That was part of it. But the catalyst for it, really, it was kind of an idea in my head, and it hadn't progressed beyond an idea. What happened was my Reiki teacher did a spiritual reading on me, and she told me that it was important that I was supposed to write this book, and that it was that she believed that it was like a big part of my life mission was to write this book, or it was a significant chapter in my life mission. And that she also said that me being a police officer was going to help it connect with people, because I'm just kind of an average Joe that I'm not your typical esoteric practitioner. And so it would open more conventional thinkers up to these concepts. And so, initially I was like, okay, well, yeah, absolutely, I'll write this book. What do I got to lose? It's all good. There's nothing bad that can come from this. And then I was thinking, well, because I kept asking Tyson to come back every time I had a reading. I kept asking him to reincarnate, and hoping that he would, which of course isn't going to happen unless it's in the contract, right? I mean, but he was kind of, he acted like he was ambivalent, like, I want to come, but I don't know when and where. Every time that would always be the answer. And so what I thought is, here I am going to write this story. Well, what's so compelling about some guy that, loses his dog and then, starts believing in the afterlife and becomes a Reiki master? I mean, there's lots of people like me. What would be so interesting for me to write this book? So I thought, well, the perfect punchline would be Tyson reincarnating. So I'll wait until he reincarnates, and that's when I'll write the book. I'm not going to write it until then, because that's the perfect ending, right? And so then I got a reading done when I was in Sedona. We were down there for spring training baseball, and I went and had this reading done with Amara. She's amazing. Highly recommend her. AskAmara.com if you want to check her out. And what she told me, she's like, oh, no. She says, no, that's the second book.
The second book. I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break at the top of the hour here. Author Brandon Wainwright. I tell you, this is one heck of a good story. If you love pets, you love your own pets, and you want to know, can they communicate from the other side, or maybe you've had that experience, this is definitely one that you want to check on out. Tyson's Gift can be found on Amazon right now. Brandon Wainwright gets in to hour number 2 of Has Tyson Reincarnated? We'll find out right after this. All right, man. I'll be right back. I'm just going to run my dogs outside. Speaking of which, I'm just going to put you on mute, and I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
We've got about 6 minutes. All right. Be right back, people. Hello, gorgeous Jessica McCreary. All right, I am back. And let's go like this. Hey, Magnus. What's happening, man? All right. Ready for hour 2?
Oh yeah. You make this easy, which is cool.
I try.
If I'm going on and on and on too far, feel free to step in and cut me off.
You're doing great, dude. You're doing great. Michael Smith, thank you for that awesome super chat, man. Really do appreciate that. And thank you as well to Mennonite Abe, Joshua, and Carl. Really do appreciate it. Hey, Noble Patrick, how you doing? Good to have you here. The gorgeous Ronnie, who's hanging out over on Spreaker's chat room. Good to see you. And do you eat breakfast for dinner?
Me?
Yeah.
Occasionally. My daughter likes to do that.
Yeah, you dirty bastard.
The thing is, I don't. Usually, it's not filling enough for me. You know?
Good. Yeah. All right.
You know what I won't do though is swim. Well,
hey, hold on 2 seconds, buddy.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bleg is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Shout out to everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Our guest tonight is author Brandon Wainwright. He's a police officer as well as an experiencer of the unknown. He's got a great book out, which can be found on Amazon, called Tyson's Gift. This is a story of his dog, Tyson, who passed away, but never really left. Still hangs out at a dear old dad's house. Brandon, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks again for having me.
All right. So the big question is, you got this cute little Chihuahua Dachshund cross, and he's your best friend, passes away. At what point did you decide that you needed to write a book about these experiences?
It would have been like right around February of 2019. So about 10 months later is when I decided that I was going to do it. I just didn't, but it took a while to get that going. I'd never written a book before. The most writing I had done was papers in college and emails and a couple of movie scripts here and there, but I'd never actually written a book before. So it was a little bit of a daunting idea. But the thing is, I believed that it was for a higher purpose. So there was no question in my mind I was going to do it. So.
Was it just a tribute to him? Or did you just need to get this off your chest?
No, I mean, that certainly was part of it. I mean, this dog was, he's my soulmate. I wanted to honor him. And I wanted to tell his story and my story with him. But the reason maybe it could have been a cool memoir that I wrote for posterity, for my family, and just to make sure that his life was documented and nobody ever forgot it. But the reason I wrote it was so other people could gain from the experience, that other people, especially people like me, that needed to be opened up, could have some firsthand, anecdotal evidence that maybe they should be opening themselves up to this sort of thing. That's why I wrote it. I wanted to help other people. I wanted people like me, and even honestly, even people, like I said, even people that were religious, but that looked at the afterlife in more of an abstract sense, or in more of a fairy tale sort of sense. You know what I mean? I wanted them to become, to have their own experiences and know without a doubt that we are spiritual beings having a human experience rather than the other way around. It's just the level of peace that it brings is immense. And, it's such a profound realization, because it puts so much more meaning to life, and so I know that sounds kind of, grandiose, and but obviously the pleasure that I got writing it was telling his story, but the purpose behind it was to help people.
So for you, what kind of therapy did this book provide for you?
Well, I really enjoyed telling the therapeutic part. Actually, was the telling his story, telling his life, the good parts about it, the funny parts about it, because this dog was a character. Okay. the half the book is, well, a little bit more than half the book actually is told from a Marley and me type of voice. It just tells how he came into our lives, how the impact he had on my wife and I, on our relationship, on especially on me opening up my heart, because I go into it in the book, but I had a lot of traumatic experiences with animals as a kid, and it did a lot of damage that I wasn't even consciously aware of. And actually, and then also, like most people from our generation, I came from a divorced family, and there was a lot of trauma in my life from that too. And when Tyson came into my life, he really healed me on a lot of levels, and opened my heart. And but so it was therapeutic in that sense, because I was telling his story, and a lot of times I'd find myself giggling as I was typing, because I was reminiscing about these funny antics that he was always getting into. But you would think that the therapeutic part would be telling the after he passed away portion, but not so much. That was more me trying to tell the story in a way that would help other people. The therapeutic part was just reliving his life, because it was such a cool life, So I guess you could say, when I refer to the Marley and me thing, you could think of the book as sort of a combination between, Marley and me, and a real life version of A Dog's Purpose. If you've ever read the book or seen the movie, I've done both, and that's an amazing book. I think the movie's just as good as the book, actually, but a real life version of it, yeah, I think people will enjoy it.
At the point of all of the experiences you were having with Tyson from the other side, were they happening quite frequently?
Yeah, when it did, I only had a handful actually, but they happened in quick succession. Yeah. And my wife, it was a little bit more spread out for her. And then my daughter didn't have as many, but she also had one, but they were all kind of in the same, probably 3-month period, I would say. Mine all happened within like probably 2 months. And the most intense ones happened all in one night. So, but So that's a whole other story. So.
I can see that. But for you, I mean, with the book Tyson's Gift, I would look at that as a tell-all of your own personal emotions and being connected to this animal, which technically speaking, as humans, we're not supposed to be, but we end up falling in love. We just can't help ourselves. So for you, when you were writing it, what were you getting out of it?
Well, I mean, it is a tell-all. I'm very candid in it. I spilled the beans, I totally let my heart just flail open as I was writing this book. I didn't hold anything back. So if you read it, you'll see that. That what I got out of it was that, I got to relive the experiences, but also just the profound connection that I had with him and still have with him. And I mean, that's the main thing, is that I've always been consciously aware. Like some people, and when they have a loss like this, they look back and say, damn, why didn't I appreciate, when they were alive? But it wasn't like that with Tyson. For me, when he came into my life, I was very consciously aware that this was special and that I needed to savor every single moment I had with him. And I did. Believe it or not, I consciously savored every moment with him throughout his life. And so I didn't have that. It was more just a sense of peace and just reliving the beauty of what he brought to us. There was that, and the satisfaction that comes with writing a story that you think is going to help other people.
Now, you've never written a book before.
No, not a book. No. So
how'd you know what to do?
I didn't. I just, when Amara told me that oh no, that's book 2, as far as when he comes back, she says what she told me was, you have everything you need just to write the book right now. And so, and I honestly, if I hadn't had that push, I had so many doubts. I didn't think I see now that she was right. But when I first started writing it, I never would have thought that the book was going to be anything special, or it was going to have anything to offer that people would be compelled by. I just, I don't know if that's my own, just self-doubt, unhealthy modesty or what, but, I just didn't. But I just, when she said that, I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start writing. And I meditated. And pretty much every time I would write, I would sit and meditate, and I would ask for guidance on the book, ask for Tyson's help with it. And I thought, well, all I have to do is just tell the story. I lived it. All I have to do is tell the story. I don't have to make anything up or anything, just tell it. And so that's what I did. I started from the time he came into our lives, and, up till that point, when I finished the book, was chronologically at that point. So I did a little outlining towards the end, like after I'd gotten about halfway through it, I started kind of making a list. Okay, I want to cover this, and just to give myself a little bit of a map. But for the most part, I just kind of free flowed it. I didn't worry about it. I figured, you know what, this is something that I'm being guided to do. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna take care of itself, I think. If I just listen and go with it. And I think it did. I think that was pretty awesome. I'm very thankful that all this has played out.
Now, at any time during your communication, or with Tyson on the other side, or with any type of spiritual people, did you ever get the feeling that he was going to come back?
Yeah, I mean, well, every time I had a reading done, they would always say, he's not, he's what he says is he wants to come back, but he's not sure if and when. But they would always qualify that with, but I really get the strong feeling that he's going to come back. And that, you know, it's always kind of keeping me sort of like, yeah, he'll come back eventually, but I don't know when. And I just kind of stopped worrying about it. I figured, well, it's probably going to be a while, and that's cool. I know he's good. I know he's still here with me. And when he comes back, it's going to be freaking awesome, you know? And I can't wait. And I'll just leave it at that. And, you know, that's the thing that's difficult about these is when you first start going, you're in so much pain. When the first couple readings that I did, actually the first reading, the reading I had with Sandy Casca, who's in the book, which was one of the first like major step I took towards being convinced this was real stuff. There was so much peace that was brought from what was communicated that it took a lot of the angst out of it, you know, knowing that your little buddy lives on takes so much of the pain away. You still miss him terribly, you know, but a lot of, you know, with an animal in particular, the pain comes from the fact that they're an innocent and you can't protect them anymore. You know, at least that's what you feel. But the reality is you don't need to protect them. They're actually there to protect you on a lot of levels. Maybe not physically, but emotionally, spiritually. I believe that animals are there to help us as much as we're there to help them. So, but anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought there.
No, I think you're doing great. Do you think well, let me ask you, you have dogs now. Do you think that Tyson is reincarnated into one of them?
Absolutely. He is.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Tell me this story.
Okay. So kind of spilling the beans here, but it's okay. It's, you know, so right after I finished writing the book in December of 2019. So I started it. We were down there for spring training, so it would have been in March of 2019 when Amara kind of gave me that kick in the butt and told me, "No, you got everything you need. Go for it." And so I started writing, and I work full time. I've got a very active daughter, like you know, I've got a lot of family obligations, just like you do. And so what I would typically do is I would write like a couple hours here, a couple hours there, when I was waiting to pick my daughter up at the coffee shop or whatever, you know. And so it took me till the end of the year to write the story, which I actually think it didn't ultimately, it didn't really take all that long. But anyway, I finished it in December of 2019. And in the following February, we're in Hawaii on vacation. And my wife gets a text from her best friend, Donna, saying she knows all about all these experiences that I've had. She knows that we believe that Tyson's going to come back and all this stuff. So she's apparently open to it, because she texts Misha and she says, "Hey, I've got this dog that we did a test run out of foster, and she has a dog that she was trying to see if the two would be compatible. And, you know, she says, you know, my dog they're not really into each other, but this dog really reminds me of Tyson, and she's super cool. And do you think it could be him? Would you be interested in looking at her?" And, you know, my wife shows me this picture, and at first they said it was a mini pincher, but it's not. It's a Chihuahua. And, you know, I look at this picture, and the picture is just super cute. And so I was like, oh, wow. Doesn't matter if it's Tyson or not. Let's look at her. So we had just gotten to Hawaii, so we had to wait a week. And I thought, well, by the time we get back, this dog's going to be snatched up, man. You know, but she wasn't. And so when we got back, we took our other dog Ellie to meet her, and they were like instantly best friends, like they had known each other forever. And they're running around playing, and so it's like, yeah, this is a go. You know, we absolutely will take her. And I wasn't, I thought there was a possibility it could be Tyson, but I wasn't wasn't really worried about it. I just thought this dog was so cool. It didn't really matter, but I definitely thought there was a possibility. Same size, very similar looking. And I was told that when he comes back, he wants to be about the same size, like, that he could be held and cuddled and that sort of thing. And over the next, we got her home that night, and she immediately goes to the back door. She walks into the house, goes straight to the back door. Like she knows how to go outside. So that was the first thing that kind of struck me. She's very bright. She's a very intelligent dog. So, it's possible she's just following Ellie's lead, but that kind of, I was a little bit shocked at that. And so going forward, the next couple of days, I'm observing, just feeling her out. And I took her for, this is at our house, and she's always with me and my wife and daughter and the other dog. And there's all this stimuli, but I took her, just the two of us, on a drive to go run some errands. And Tyson used to go everywhere with me. And once I had her in that car, it was like, oh, that's Tyson. I could just feel it, I mean, it just felt just like he was there, it was just, oh, this is definitely him. And, the other thing that happened was, Tyson, I'm giving away a lot, but who cares, right? If you read it, it'll still be good. Actually, none of this stuff is in the book. This is all after the fact. This will be in book 2. So you're all getting in on the ground level information here. So when Tyson would fall asleep, he would always, he'd lick me to death. First of all, that was his thing. He loved to lick my face. And so I'd lay him on my shoulder, and he would fall asleep on my shoulder with his head on my shoulder. And most nights he would end up migrating down to the back of my wife's legs. Sometimes he would just stay there the whole night. First night we had Pepper, that's the dog. I found her asleep on my shoulder the first night. And then after that, she didn't do it anymore. So I think she was telling me it's me, she still cuddles with me, but not like, she doesn't sleep on my shoulder like Tyson did. But she did that first night. And so anyway, a few days later, I was on my way down to spring training again. This time my wife didn't go. My buddy went with me. I'm sitting on the plane, and I was like, it's him. I know it's him. And so we get down there, and while we were down in Arizona, I went up and got another reading done. And Melinda Leslie, who very well.
Very well.
This was the first session I had with her. And, she identified what Pepper looked like. She knew what Pepper looked like. She knew. And the other thing that she told me, so Tyson was skittish in the sense that he could be very jumpy and overreactive sometimes, but he wasn't skittish in the sense that you could walk up to him and pick him up, no problem. If you knew him anyway. If you didn't know him, you better watch out, because he'd make you pay. It's typical Chihuahua, right? Pepper, on the other hand, isn't skittish in the jumpy sense, but man, if you walk up to her, she just runs and hides every time. Even now, she still does it. She's better now than she was when we first got her, but and it wasn't really apparent when we first brought her home, because she would let you hold her, and I wasn't thinking skittish. Well, Melinda says the biggest difference between Tyson and Pepper is that Pepper is very skittish, way more skittish than Tyson was. And I was, I don't know. That doesn't sound right to me. I don't see it. Well, proved to be 100% accurate. She is so skittish. Okay, so then there's a couple other clues that are even, to me, are even more compelling. A couple months later, so Tyson had one single white hair between his shoulder blades, and his fur was tan, so this one white hair really stood out. And my wife always joked around that if there was an imposter Tyson that came along, we would know right away, because he wouldn't have that hair. He had this hair his entire life. It wasn't just like a one-off. And so she was, what we were told was that the new Tyson wouldn't have this hair, which she had a real hard time with that. She didn't. So there's no way. Why would he not have that hair? He would definitely have that hair if he came back. My wife had a hard time wrapping her brain around that. So after we had Pepper for about 2 or 3 months, one day I was sitting with her in my lap and I'm petting her, and all of a sudden she's brindle in the front, but her back is solid black.
I'm gonna get you to hold that story right there. Has Tyson come back in reincarnation in a new dog? We will find out. Brandon Wainwright is our guest tonight. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we're clear.
I just go on and on and on, huh?
Fine by me. You're the one telling the story. I'll be right back, dude.
Okay.
I'm going to blow my nose here. Go. Sorry about that, dude.
No.
Snakes, thank you for that super chat, man. Thank you to Snakes, Magnus ×2, Michael, Mennonite Abe, Joshua, Evil Carl. Appreciate it, guys.
One. Evil Carl.
Carl.
The other night we were listening to the show and you said Evil Carl, and my wife started cracking up. Evil.
Is your wife listening tonight?
Yeah, she is.
Tell her to come up and say hello. If she's listening right now.
Hey, Misha.
Misha, we're paging Misha.
Misha.
To come to the camera and say hello.
How much time do we have?
We got a couple minutes.
Okay, I'll go get her. Misha. Misha.
He's determined.
I guess she did.
She must have fallen asleep.
Have Madison come to him. Yeah, I guess she heard you.
Paging Misha. Paging Misha.
My daughter's all during the break, she's all bummed out. She said, "You haven't talked about me at all." Like, yeah,
who's that lovely girl right there?
This is Madison.
Hi, Madison. How are you?
Say hi.
You got great hair.
Yeah, swimmer's hair, huh?
Yeah, not good.
Total swimmer's hair.
You want to talk to her?
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Hi, Misha.
Hello. Hi.
We paged you.
I heard that. Yes.
Uh-huh.
We're enjoying the interview.
Yeah, your hubby's doing well.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs a mustache, though.
Oh, mustache?
He would look good in a good mustache.
Oh,
He says I should grow one.
okay.
I'm like 19 days older than your husband.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Gemini.
19, 20 days. Yes.
Gemini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Cool. Well, I don't know. Did you read the book?
No.
No. You should read it. It's good.
You know what? I believe you. I will point my audience to it, but I don't read books of my guests.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a full shelf right here of books that I haven't got to, but it's not, I don't do it out of insulting. I do it because when I first started opening up to some serious experiences, whoever they are, asked me not to.
Oh, really?
And I've abided by that rule.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know why. That one I still don't understand, but I've ran with it.
Where did you see the Sasquatch?
In Mission, British Columbia.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Was it just one?
There were two of them within 100 feet of us.
That's so cool.
Yeah, the second one I got a real good look at the full right side profile and the back and the pointed head, and
That's so cool.
It never looked at me. I think I would have pooed if it looked at me. But
how did you? So and then you saw a shadow of the other one, or
no, the other one was looking at us, peering from behind a tree, like underneath the canopy of the tree. That one was kind of cool. Yeah, it was fun.
Are the Sasquatch the same as the Yeti?
I think the Yeti may be bigger.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Although, like way up north in BC, like near the Alaska border, they said Sasquatch apparently gets like 14, 15 feet. I mean, that's pretty big.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yes. I need your husband, if you don't mind, because we're coming back on.
Okay.
And Cosmic Floor, you can come to British Columbia anytime. Thank you to Magnus, to Snakes, Magnus again, Michael, Mennonite Abe, Josh, and Carl for the super chats. Here we go as we kick off the second half of the show right now. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with author Brandon Wainwright. He's got a great book out that I highly suggest you check on out, Tyson's Gift. It's about hearing from his dog on the other side. It can be found on Amazon.com. Highly suggest you get this one. Brandon, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks. Glad to be here.
We're glad you're here too, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this. Now, right before the break, you were talking about, recognizing Tyson in your new dog.
Yeah.
And just a lot of the scenarios. And you were going with this white hair that was on the back.
So, Tyson had that one single white hair between his shoulder blades, and Misha had trouble just accepting the idea that he would come back without it. So, a few months after 2 or 3 months after we had gotten Pepper, I'm sitting there with her in my lap, and I'm all of a sudden I'm petting her back, and all of a sudden this single white hair works its way up to the surface, and it's not precisely in the same spot that it had been on Tyson, but close enough. It was just a little bit lower. And at first I thought, no way, this has got to be like from another part of her body or something like that. And sure enough, nope, she's got a single white hair in the same vicinity. And I said, Misha, because at that point she still hadn't, she believed that she felt like it was Tyson, but that was her one hang up. Like she just was having trouble completely accepting it until that. And once I showed her that, she said, okay, all right, it's him, But the other thing that was a crazy coincidence, and I don't know how I missed this, was right around that same time, I was standing in our kitchen having a cup of coffee, and his Pepper's vaccination papers, rabies vaccination, are on the refrigerator. And I'm just kind of zoning out, and I'm looking at the vaccination papers, absent-mindedly drinking my coffee, and I go down to the doctor that did the vaccination, and it says, well, guess.
What does it say?
It says Dr. Catherine Tyson. And
that's a coincidence.
And I said, no, what are the odds of that? No. So I was like, yeah, there's just so many things like that. But most of all, you can just feel it. It's like if let's say you had, picture somebody that you're really close to, a close friend or a close girlfriend or something that you've had. If that person left your life and then came back later in another body, you would know them. You would recognize them, like just the way their vibe, the way they feel, their characteristics, and that really was the greatest proof. But of course, all these other things helped to make my case. That's for sure.
Going along, I mean, you seem like the type of guy where you've been pretty open-minded, but did you ever think that all of these synchronicities would happen?
No, I mean, not to me. I certainly didn't think that because, I mean, once I started on down this road with once I read Animals in the Afterlife and I started doing the animal communication, and especially after I had the mediumship session with Lisa Silverman, then I believed it. Yeah. Then I was like, okay, I'm starting on a journey that's going to take me to crazy, wild, wonderful places. And now, if anything, it's just been like, come on. It's not happening fast enough, like I'm hoping. But once that happened, yes. But in my previous life, not at all, because I really, like I said, I really did try to open up to different belief systems, and I never was touched, if you will, by any of it. There was never anything that that reached out and said, okay, this is what's really going on here, or you're right here. Yeah, this really is for real. Nothing like that had happened. So, but I was okay with that. Like I still believed that there was a higher power, and that there was good and evil, and that I still tried to live the best spiritual life, whatever the heck that meant, as I could. But there was also a certain level of like I said, when you know for sure that there's more, it changes you. It really does. It gives you a sense of peace that I think a lot of religions try to provide, but it's not the same as actually knowing.
So what changed inside of you in this experience? How did you expand spiritually?
Well, I mean, first, knowing that you live on, knowing that that we're all connected, and that love is infinite, and it's eternal, and life is eternal. And, that was the first step that, I gave me a sense of peace. Like I was saying, it takes away a lot of the fear that you have. It takes away that fear. It's particularly, as a police officer, everybody, I think, experiences this to some extent, but no one wants to be taken away from their loved ones. No one wants their loved ones to be taken away from them. But, as a cop, every day I go to work, I face the fact that it could happen. It's a distinct possibility. And particularly in today's world, for what? I mean, right now, the people aren't too keen on cops, and we're trying to do the best we can. But if you die in the line of duty, what did it really accomplish? Well, that's a hard thing to live with when you don't have that type of belief that there is more. And so there was a peace that came from that. But more importantly, I think for me, it expanded my idea of how important our lives actually are. Not like, oh, I'm so important because I'm an eternal being. Not in that sense, but as in the sense of we're actually here to serve a purpose. We're all interconnected. We all have, all of our purposes are equal, regardless of where what role you play in society. And I think it just gives you more of a sense of purpose and peace, and it also, like an example, one of the examples I give in the book is that when you're a cop, so I enforce a lot of infractional type of stuff in the park. So people get really pissed off when you write them a ticket, and they can be pretty nasty, right? So of course and criminals are the same way. They talk a lot of crap, and you have to develop somewhat of a thick skin. But through this experience, I've always been my nature is to see the good in people, which, sometimes it makes my job a challenge. But this opened that up even more. And when I'm dealing with people at work, I see them I see them as a divine being as opposed to, you know, an adversary. I mean, sometimes you still it doesn't matter. Sometimes you still have to take action. It's actually made the job more challenging in a way. But it's a much more rich, it's much more meaningful than it had been before. And I have a lot more peace than I have now, despite the fact that, you know, with all the chaos that's going on in the world.
How has your patience changed?
I've always been fairly patient. You know, it really depends. It depends on the person. It depends on the situation. I can lose my cool sometimes with people, just like anybody else still. But again, maybe you don't take things as you're maybe a little more understanding with people. Even though, again, like I said, I've always tried to kind of see the good in people, but you know, you realize that they're on their walk. They're having their divine experience here on earth. They're here trying to achieve their goals and their mission. And when you look at somebody like that, it has a tendency to, you know, you just more understanding. The problem is when there's no, you know, if there's no ownership of what they did, or if they're trying to hurt you, or if, you know, if they're not cooperating and they're forcing you to use force, you know, and that sort of thing, you know, then everything just kind of goes out the window. But even there, you're not doing it with any kind of anger in terms of like wanting to hurt the person. It just is what it is. I have to say, it's made the job a lot more difficult on a lot of levels, because I would much rather, you know, walk in that dimension of, hey, you're a divine being, I'm a divine being, let's interact, let's enrich each other's lives. I'd much rather be in that space, you know. But my job, you can't always be in that space. Sometimes your very life depends on not being in that space. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
No, I think it does, because in the end, you know, we all have these real extraordinary superhuman experiences one way or another. Most of us have them. Mm. And for you, who has to at times see the worst of humanity with your job as a police officer, this at least gives you a chance to kind of sit back and say, you know, and analyze the situation a little bit better, I would think.
Well, I guess what I would say is I've always tried to be as fair as I can to people. Actually, I've never, you know, of course, that as you get more and more experience on the street, that kind of tends to shift a little bit. But I guess what I will say is that there's certain behaviors out there that, you know, I've got certain pet peeves and triggers that's like, God, you just I can't believe these people think like this. But maybe, you know, and I do get genuinely frustrated and angry, just like I did before. But the difference is, I would say now, is that maybe in the aftermath of it, I feel more of a sadness for them, because I'm not going to get into any specifics here, just keeping generalities. But what I will say is that, you know, for certain criminal types of thought patterns and you know, lack of personal accountability, being hostile towards other people, being hateful and abusive to other people, that sort of behavior is, you know, that person's in a terrible place. And you know, especially when, you know, if they're coming from an area where that's the predominant culture that they come from, you know, and the way they interact with other people. And it's great. It's, you know, I find it to be disgusting and gross, especially when it's directed at me, because I know where I'm coming from, and I'm not coming from that place. They're not meeting me with the same energy I'm meeting them with. But I feel bad for them, because again, they are they're on their walk. They are here for the same, they're here to develop as a soul and grow and achieve their mission just like I am. And I don't, they're not in a good place. It's sad, So before I probably wouldn't have gone that far with my thought process. I mean, maybe if you sat down and talked to me about it, I would have, but it wouldn't have been as at the forefront of my mind.
So for you, was it hard to get other dogs after Tyson?
I didn't want to get another dog until I knew it was Tyson. It's kind of what it came down to. We had another dog, Chloe, when Tyson passed away, and unfortunately, she passed the January of 2019. So it was the month before Pepper came to us. And then Ellie, we have she's a golden doodle. She came to us in October of 2019. And that was a whole other story. We adopted her from my mom, and it was kind of a situation. We basically rescued her, so that wasn't by choice. So no, I wouldn't say it was hard, but I probably wouldn't have volunteered for it as soon as I did, just because I didn't want to take another dog on until I was pretty sure that it was him, and maybe that would have changed over time. And then if we would have gotten another dog, and then maybe Tyson would have come later. But at that point, yeah, I wasn't really seeking it out. But what's interesting, and this is another story. So that first, I didn't put this in the book because it hadn't played itself out yet, and I didn't realize the significance. But so Amara, when we finished up our session that day, the day she told me, "Hey, you got everything you need. Go write that book." I asked her, "Well, when do you think Tyson's going to come back?" And he gave the usual, ambiguous answer. And I said, "What do you think? What do you think he'll be?" And she said, everybody else had said a little dog, he wants to be a little cuddler. She says, a white lab. And a white lab. She says, "Yeah, not a golden lab, not a black lab, a white lab." And I was like, okay. And she says, and he has a buddy. Nobody had ever said that to me before. He has a buddy with him. And she says, "I don't know if that buddy is going to be connected in life, but he's got a buddy that he hangs out with now." I was okay. So what ended up happening was Ellie, she's our golden doodle, right? When we got her, she was very tannish. She had a lot of tan in her, not white at all. Well, after the first time we groomed her, she went white. Okay. Completely white. The only thing that's not white on her now is her tail, which has never been groomed. And so, and then Pepper comes along a few months later, and they were born at approximately the same time. And when they met, like I said, they were instant best friends. Like they had known each other forever. So what I think now is that Pepper was actually the buddy that she was seeing, and she mistook Ellie as Tyson, because I'm just thinking I don't have that clairvoyance, not to that degree. I've had little flashes of it, but not like she has. But I'm thinking that maybe what she saw was a dog, and she saw the size and the color and everything, but she and she actually agrees with me. I've run that by her since then, and
that is weird.
Yeah, right. So
what kind of pull does this little dog Tyson have on you, man?
Oh, he's powerful, man. He's a powerful soul. He's honestly, he's got. I think he's as wise as I am on the soul level. I think he's got a long and storied history. Yeah, he's got a big pull on me, man. He's my soulmate, man.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you on that. Now, your new dog, Pepper, this is the one that you believe is the reincarnation of Tyson.
Right.
As we got about 5 minutes to go here before we go to break at the top of the hour, do you think that does Pepper have a lot of the same nuances as Tyson did in life?
in some ways, there's certain things that she does that are like she's a food hound, just like Tyson was. Tyson was a prolific food hound, but I mean, we're talking like always getting into trouble with food, stealing food, breaking into things for food. He was terrible. She's not. She's a little bit better about that, but she definitely is still a major food hound, just like he was. Tyson was a major humper. He humped everything he could get. He could get his paws on, and he was. I love to dominate everybody. Female, male, it didn't matter. My mother-in-law had a black lab Great Dane mix that was so big she sat on the couch. She would actually put her butt on the couch. Tyson humped her one day when she was laying next to the couch. He went up, jumped up on the couch, grabbed her head, and started humping her head. Pepper also tends to hump a lot, even though she's a girl. She's always humping Ellie, and so there's that. But Tyson was like he'd love to lick, and Pepper doesn't. She won't lick your face. She'll only lick your hands. Tyson loved to lick your face. So there's some differences, but just the I don't know, just the attitude, the level of just extremely outspoken. Very direct. Like when she wants to go outside, she just walks over the door and starts, she talks to us. That's how Tyson was. Tyson would talk. So it's it feels like the same dog. It just with subtle differences. So.
No, very true. Very true. I could totally feel that. I haven't had a pet come back in reincarnation yet that I know of. Don't know if it'll ever happen. I do believe in ghost pets. Do you still see Tyson in ghost form running around?
No, we don't. I've had a reading done where Tyson communicated as Tyson, but we haven't had anything like that since actually right around the time that he would have been born, or that Pepper would have been born, which is interesting.
Wow.
So I think
so that adds a little bit to the mystery, because he was showing up previous to that. Pepper gets born, and all of a sudden he disappears.
Yeah. None of us have had. It's not just me; it's my wife and daughter too. So, but what's interesting too is that like I said, when I've had readings done, I had an animal communication reading done not too long ago where he actually communicated as Tyson. So I think these different layers of the soul are still engaged, but I've also been told, I don't know, I don't pretend to have all the answers. I don't think I ever will, but Lisa Silverman, who's the medium from that I've had a number of profound experiences with, she told me that Pepper is definitely Tyson, but that it's only like, it's not 100% Tyson.
Well, no, the spirit still has to live its own life. I don't think we ever come back 100% as, looking the same, feeling the same attributes or anything.
Well, no, but what she's saying is that it's literally, it's more than just that soul. I mean, yeah, obviously different body, it's a whole new life. So why come back if you're the same, right? You're not gonna grow and learn like any more than you. But at least that's what I interpret it as. And it kind of rings true to me. I could see that. But it's definitely him. I mean, it's been an interesting experience because ever since Pepper came back, and we had, Chloe was a Chihuahua, so it wasn't like, and it wasn't the same as with Tyson. Ellie, I love Ellie to pieces. She's awesome. One of the best dog. Can't imagine a better dog than Ellie. But it wasn't the same as, with Tyson. Pepper comes back, and all of a sudden I I miss Tyson when I read about the stories, and I reminisce about what he was
Right.
like. But I don't miss him like I did before because he's here. you know.
That's a good place to leave it. That's a good place to leave it as we get ready to say goodbye to hour number 2 and hello to hour number 3. We have author Brandon Wainwright for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. Have you had a pet that's reincarnated into a new pet? Ghost dogs, ghost cats, ghost chameleons, ghost fish. Choose your ghosts, because we're going to have a good third hour here on Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. All right, my friend, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Be right back. Mute you there. Put that there. All right. I'll be back. All right. I am back here. Just let me get these headphones on. Excuse me. Yeah, like that, like that. Okay, when we get to the break at the bottom of the hour, just stick with me, and I'll say a proper good night to you when we come back or when we get to break.
Okie doke.
All right.
Yeah, it sure went by quick.
Told you, man.
Good. That's good.
It's fun. It's fun. Hello, gorgeous Jennifer Hawkins. Welcome back. And the stunning minister Elaine Sloan is here, everyone. Let's give her a round of applause. All right. We got about 1 minute here. 1 minute. I want to say a big thank you to Snakes, Magnus ×2, Michael, Abe, Josh, and Carl for the awesome super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. The lovely and talented Itzy Zaza has returned. There she is, everybody. Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley, da, 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 loves his spaced out radio. There we go. Good morning to you, Mr. Cowley. All right. I'm ready to do this thing, man. And here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go, kicking off the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in, especially if you're listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bleg. Bleg is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce author Brandon Wainwright. He's got a great book out, and I'll tell you, if you haven't checked out Tyson's Gift on Amazon, you definitely want to. It's about communication with a pet who's deceased on the other side. What's it like? And Brandon, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. Glad you are here. All right. I want to ask you in regards to, this contact that you have with Tyson from the other side. And we think that Tyson may have been reincarnated now into your dog Pepper, or at least a little bit of him. But you mentioned earlier in the show that you had a long connection with Tyson, past lives. Have you looked into that entire scenario and where you guys have kind of intersected?
Well, what I've been told is that I definitely have had many lives together, but there was an interesting experience I had with Sandy. Sandy's the first animal communicator I worked with where I really had a big, profound experience. While I was talking to her, I asked her, have we had other lives together? And she said, yes, definitely. And she didn't get into any details, but in my head, I had an image of me on some farm or ranch somewhere with dirt roads, wearing overalls, and I was barefoot. Okay. It just kind of flashed in my head, and I figured it was my imagination, whatever. Well, the next session I had with her, I asked her for, she could give me more details on the life that I had with Tyson, with that life that in particular. And she said that Tyson had been a medium-sized dog, that that I was very, very poor. My family was very, very poor, like Appalachia poor, is how she described it. And then she says, I don't want to stereotype, but I'm seeing you like in overalls and barefoot, and you were a towhead, she says. So, and it was what she said was it was right around the turn of the century, so sometime between 1890 and 1910. And that blew my mind when she said that, because it's like, wow, I knew that already, or at least I had that image in my head. So definitely, I think we've had a number of past lives together. I've kind of I think I'm going to be a tough subject to regress for hypnosis. I'm not like the ideal person for that, but I hope at some point maybe I can explore that.
That would be really cool, because we seem to be intertwined and interconnected with many different spirits throughout our lifetimes, some whom we are just finding in this lifetime, and others who've been with us since day one. So for you, is this a connection that you're going to be studying up more on?
I'm studying up. I'm in general trying to increase my my psychic ability, and I'm delving into this stuff as far as I can go. I hadn't really thought that much about specifically trying to find out what my connection to Tyson is. I probably should, though. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do that. What's interesting, though, is that what she also said about that life was that my daughter in this life was my mom in that life, and my grandfather, my step grandfather from this life, was my father from that life. So that was crazy. That rings super true, though. To be honest, at first I was like, "What?" My daughter was my mom, but it's that. Yeah, the way she described her and stuff, and she didn't know anything about my daughter. Like, yeah, well, that sounds like her. So yeah, you know what? I probably should, if for no other reason than it would be interesting material for a second book. To tell more about the soul life story that I have with Tyson.
Has it made communication with animals easier for you? This is a question from Elaine.
No, I wouldn't say it's made it easier. I've always been an animal person, so dogs have always taken to me quickly, and Tyson, from the time Tyson came into my life, he opened my heart up to animals in a way that they hadn't been quite as much so, and since I had been a kid. But I have always loved animals. So, but it definitely, he made me much more, open. And when I have a contact in the park with dogs and stuff, I always am quick to make friends with the dog and, take joy in that.
Okay, so for you, have you opened up, or have you started seeing more ghostly, paranormal type of apparitions since this happened? Because usually when you have that much communication, and as you start to open up, your own eyes and your third eye, as they say, starts to open up to seeing more. Has that happened to you?
No, I wish I could say that it has. I will say that when I meditate, I have more of that. Like I was saying, I do Reiki. I do Reiki pretty much every day, and I send it to people. And some of the classes that I've taken, I've made good friends with people. And one partner in particular, when I've sent to her, I've had several. It's happened like 3 or 4 different times where I send to her and I can see people in her life when I'm sending to her. I get flashes of images of them in my head. And then I, reach out to her. Hey, does this person sound familiar to you? And they're like, she's like, oh yeah, that's this person, that's happened, but I don't see them so much like you were saying, like as I'm walking throughout my day. I kind of wonder sometimes if it has something to do with my job a little bit, because I have to have my guard up a lot when I'm at work, and Amara, who's I consider her to be a spiritual teacher of mine at this point. She's an intuitive I've worked with quite a bit. She told me that I'm not going to be able to really open up completely until I get out of this career, which is kind of a bummer, but it's a survival thing, is what she told me.
I can understand that. I mean, so for you, is this something that you want to pursue?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you feel the pull?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm going, there's a metaphysical school in Georgia called Delphi University. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I'm going to spend a week there, and at the end of September in a class that'll be, can't wait. Should be pretty interesting. Next month, I'm taking a Reiki class, level 1 and 2, specifically for animal Reiki. So I'm looking forward to that. Not that you need to have animal Reiki to be able to work on pets. I've worked on animals a number of times. There's some anecdotal stuff about that in the book as well. But yeah, this, as far as I'm concerned, this is just something. I mean, once you get opened up to this stuff and you see that there's so much more, and why would you stop? I mean, there's the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know anything. I know a lot more than the average person already, but there's just every step I take, I realize that there's so much more out there, and so I'm just an open book. I'm just going to learn and get as much out of it as I can and pass that on, and try to make the world a better place with it.
Do you think, though, that is something that you need to do for your own spiritual growth?
Yes, I think so. I think at this point that the spiritual, metaphysical pursuits and passing this message on and growing in it myself is it's a pursuit that's going to be there not just for myself, but to, like I said, to pass that on to other people. So yeah, I think in spiritual growth in that sense, the sense of being able to help other people with it and be of service. Ultimately when you go to the next dimension, all this stuff, you learn all this stuff anyway. So, but to learn it in this dimension and to be able to utilize it and help people with it, I think is a big deal.
How do other animals react to you now?
Animals have always been pretty friendly with me, for the most part. Tyson was the least friendly animal ever to me. And it took me 2 months to win him over. And that was part of what made me fall in love with him, was because I had to earn it, but for the most part, like when I was we were talking on the phone before the show, I delivered bottled water for over 5 years, and I drove for DHL and FedEx, and I always had lots of canine friends around my routes, and it's always been something. Dogs have always been friendly with me and me with them, so I've never been really afraid of dogs either. They can run right up to me, charge me, and for the most part, I never really have a whole lot of fear of them. So.
Interesting. Okay. So with that, and you're finding your own spirituality, I do have to ask, how do your fellow workmates think of you going down this road?
Well, I think a lot of them think it's weird. You have to remember, I'm a cop in the San Francisco Bay Area, so it's probably a little bit, people are a little more open-minded around here, even the police. So I been working in this for a while, and I've, and this, I have the respect, I think, of my colleagues anyway. So it's, it now they know that I'm still a real cop, and that I can take care of business and stuff. So that's the important thing, but yeah, I mean, I've been made fun of here and there, but not in a malicious kind of way, like, just poking fun. And the thing is, there's a chapter in the book where I talk about some of the miracles I've had with Reiki, and one of them was one of the detective sergeant. He had this just head splitting headache one day, like daggers going through his temples, and I ran into him in the hallway, and how you doing? And he says, "Oh, I got this awful headache." I said, "Well, you want some Reiki?" And he's like, "Hey man, I'll try anything." So I said, "Okay, I'll come down to the detective unit in a minute." So I come down, I come in, and they're playing the meditation music, like spa music, and they're giggling, and okay, all right, you mofos, So I go over, and I started working on the sergeant, and he's like, "Oh my," he said, "Oh my God, I can feel the pain draining out of my head." And so one of the detectives that was in there at the time, it convinced him. It convinced him completely, and since then we've had lots of conversations about different experiences and things like that. So
I never believed in Reiki, dude, until one time I was under a lot of stress, and literally I was walking hunched over because my back hurt so much. And my partner was like, "Do you want me to perform Reiki on you?" And I'm like, "I don't even believe in this crap, but whatever, I'll just try it." Like, I was hurting, and I couldn't sleep at night, nothing. And so, anyways, long story short, she starts off about 6 feet behind me. She goes, "Do you feel my hands?" And I'm like, "No, don't feel anything." And then she moves a little closer. "Do you feel my hands now?" And I was like, "No." And she gets about a foot and a half away from me. And all of a sudden I start screaming. I'm like, "Get your hands off me. What are you doing? My back is killing me." And like, I was in that much pain. And she goes, "Turn around." And here she is, literally about 18 inches from my back. And it hurt that much. And so she started pulling out what she felt were like daggers in my back. And literally, I hadn't slept in months the way I slept that night. Like, I immediately, it wore me out so bad, I actually went and had a nap. I mean, it just kicked the crap out of me. And ever since then, I've been a total Reiki believer.
yeah, absolutely. And everybody that does Reiki has a different, everybody kind of experiences it differently as far as like how they perceive the energy.
Right.
So.
Question from Julie for you. Brandon, what is Reiki?
So Reiki is it's a form of energy healing. It's basically it's spiritually guided life force energy that when you become a Reiki practitioner, essentially what happens is that you're given, there's different forms of it, but you're given an attunement, and it's like putting an antenna on you, basically a spiritual antenna where energy, and it gives you the ability to channel, if you will, the energy, and then you lay on your hands on the person, and you're able to give the energy to them with your hands. So that's the short and skinny of it, is that it's spiritually guided life force energy. But the thing that's cool about it is, for somebody like me that's a rock, that's like really very difficult to open up spiritually for whatever reason, it's something that anybody can do. If you have a desire to help people, and a desire to open up to something new, take a Reiki class, get attuned, and you'll be able to pass it on to other people. I think I've got classmates that can like, they can see like what kind of energy it is that's they're giving Reiki to somebody from a distance. There's different levels. At the second level, you're actually able to send it to people through time and space, which is really awesome. And when you're doing that, some people can perceive, what kind of energy they're clearing from a person. They can tell what's going on. They have a lot of intuition about it. For me, I can tell where in the body the energy is going to, and I can with me, I feel it's like electrical impulses in my hands. I feel like electricity is actually running through my hands and my fingers when I'm giving it. So that's how I perceive it. But I don't have I'm not able to tell I can see you've got this dark energy. But there are people out there that can do it. Everybody's different. But you'll find that if you decide to take that on, you'll have your own gifts. It's just a desire to do it is the main ingredient.
How do you flush the energy from yourself that you pick up from someone?
What they say is that you just kind of go like this, and, just the thing is, Reiki it doesn't come from the practitioner. It comes from source. So what you're basically doing is you're basically saying, hey, can you go over here? Can you go to this person and help them? And it's coming through you, and the Reiki actually runs through you, which is it's positive for the practitioner, but you don't pick up the other person's energy. I don't anyway. Maybe I'm picking it up and I just don't realize it. Who knows? But I haven't. I mean, I could do Reiki all day, and I'm not tired from it or anything. If anything, it actually boosts my energy level. So, that's an interesting concept too, because for most people, when they get into this, and myself included, there's this ego aspect to it. I'm going to be a healer. I'm going to help these people, and then certainly you get a lot of gratification out of helping somebody. But the reality is, it's not about you, and it's not coming from you either. It's just a matter of you're working with spirit, and you're providing the channel, if you will. But you're not the one that's actually doing it. So you're also not the one that's picking up any darkness or dark energy or whatever that you're getting from them. I just feel it when somebody's a couple days ago, I worked on a friend's sister who has a lot of anxiety and things like that. And the amount of energy that went through my hands while I was working on her was incredible. And, but it was exhilarating for me. So you would think that it would be exhausting because of all the angst that she had. No, for me, it was exhilarating because there was so much energy passing through me.
That's awesome. That is awesome. What's next in your spiritual endeavors?
Like I said, I'm just continuing to take classes. I'm trying to expand my abilities with Reiki and opening up spiritually. Thing is, this book and getting this book out there, I think is very much intertwined with my spiritual endeavors. This is part of the journey for me. I think getting the book out there is going to help me to open. So I'm focused on that, trying to get it out there, and it's kind of daunting because this isn't something that I've done before. I'm not a marketing person. I'm a cop. I have this coming on your show tonight wasn't easy for me. Wasn't horribly hard, but I was a little apprehensive about it. And so I'm just going to take it as it comes and try to grow as much as I can from the experiences that come in the process. I wish I could retire from law enforcement right now, but that's just not financially possible. So
I hear you. We got 1 minute left with you, my friend. And I want to say thank you, Brandon Wainwright, for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor.
Thanks for having me.
Let everybody know where they could find your book.
Easiest way, go to www.tysonsgift.com. There's a shop now button there. You click it, it'll take you to the page where you can buy it. That's the most direct way. You can also, if you want to reach out to me on email, you can do it from my website. You can sign up for email updates there. You can also go to Amazon.com But I think the easiest way is just to go to tysonsgift.com, and hopefully that'll be opening up soon as well. We've also got a Facebook page, Tyson's Gift, How an 8-Pound Canine Became a Man's Greatest Spiritual Guide, and I'm on Instagram, Tyson's Gift.
Love it. Love it. You did well tonight, man. You did well tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your family's story with Tyson. And I'm pretty sure he's loving the attention as well.
I'm sure he is. He has an ego.
Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire. We have the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues. The final half hour next. Great show, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. It's been great.
Yeah, the audience loved you. Yeah, there's Jules, there's Tewaz, Michael Leger, Jenny's giving you some claps, and Mama Susan here is giving you a good thumbs up, and there it is. So that's Michael Leger giving the thumbs up. Yeah, everybody loving it. It's a good show. Good show. Solid, man.
Well, if you ever want to have me back, you just ask.
Oh, yeah,
I'd
man.
love to come back.
You write that second book? We got to stay in touch, though, dude. You're pretty awesome.
Absolutely. I agree. I'll come and watch you speak when you come to town.
Yeah. February, I believe. Somewhere around then. It'll be, it'll be good. Black Rabbit says, ask Tyson if he could come back as a dog man next time.
Yeah, he probably would if he could.
Oh, yeah. All right, brother.
We'll
let you go. You take care, okay?
Hey, thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it, Dave.
No problem. No problem.
I'll
Take care.
I have to reach out to Melinda and thank her for putting me in touch with you.
Oh, hell yeah. Me too. Me too. All right, Ben. Take care.
Take care.
Good night. That was a good show. That was a good show. That was fun. A little bit different, but those personal human experiences are fantastic. Fantastic. I love those. Oh. Why is my hair? Oh, it's because I'm combing it that way. No, this way. There we go. Thank you, Jordan Ashley Pettit. What the hell is with all this shark talk? I don't get this shark talk. I've been trying to figure it out. I don't get it. Oh, I had a great night tonight. I was very happy with tonight's show. Brandon was great guest, very eloquent speaker. Knew how to paint a picture. That's all I ever ask. Tales of Reiki, of the Reiki Karmakov. Right there. Thanks, Steve Michael Leger. Your gnome is still looking good in here, man. That was fun. That was a good show. Very happy. What did you say, Magnus? What did you do to get the shark talk started? KT in the Spreaker chat. How are you? All the way from New Zealand. Oh, it's Shark Week. That's why. You'll never see me get eaten by a shark because I don't do the ocean. And I'm too far away from salt water and no rivers run into the lakes here. I am safe. But still, just in case, not going to a beach, not going in the water. Hi, Super Nikki. How are you? That's right, Black Rabbit. Stay in my element. Thank you, Ozzy Steve, for that amazing super chat. Thank you, Spanish Fly, for bringing some sense to this entire topic. You and me, we'll go hang out in the desert at some casino while the rest of these morbid people go to the beach and get eaten. All right, thank you to Ozzy Steve, Vinster, Snakes, Magnus times 2, Michael, Mennonite Abe, Joshua, and Evil Carl for the super chats tonight. Minister Elaine's going to join us, Spanish Fly. Now we got 3. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, the news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the public. Well, you know, Daniel Sheehan, who's been a guest on this show, and hopefully will be a guest again very soon, represents both Luis Elizondo and Dr. Stephen Greer when it comes to UFOs and the government and everything in between. Now, just a little bit ago, Dr. Stephen Greer released a new movie documentary that quoted Sheehan, but Sheehan has come back and said that, well, it's not too flattering for Dr. Greer. Basically saying that he was misquoted and misedited on his comments. So I'm going to read this public statement by lawyer Daniel Sheehan regarding UFOs. On April 24th of this year, in my capacity as the 2001 General Counsel to the May 10th, 2001 Disclosure Project event at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., I attended in Scottsdale, Arizona, the 20th anniversary gathering of many of the principals who organized that event. At the time, I granted an interview reflecting on the progress that I believe had been made since 2001 in bringing forward the cause of getting our American public and our American policymakers to take seriously the fact that UFOs are real, and the most probable origin of these UFOs is indeed some extraterrestrial planet, very likely from elsewhere in our own Milky Way galaxy. During that interview, I was asked if I believed that there existed some extra-constitutional group of people who possessed a substantial amount of information about these UFOs and about the likelihood that the origin of many of these UFOs was extraterrestrial. I responded by providing a lengthy explanation of why I believed that there has been and still is presently indeed such an extra constitutional group restricting access to this knowledge. And I explained further that I suspected that it was likely that members of this same group were responsible for secreting other important information and activities from our American people and from our democratically elected congressional and executive branch officials. Unfortunately, this portion of my interview was extracted from what I understood to have been a 20th anniversary documentary about the 2001 disclosure event, and it was inserted into a documentary film dedicated to promulgating what I expressly stated in that interview was my judgment and an incorrect theory on the part of Dr. Stephen Greer, the founder of the Disclosure Project, with which I most emphatically disagreed. Moreover, that portion of my 20th anniversary interview in which I criticized what I believe to be an unconstitutional cabal, as I referred to it, was spliced into the midst of a later recorded interview of Dr. Greer in which Dr. Greer was aggressively attacking Mr. Luis Elizondo, the former director of the entirely constitutional, congressionally authorized Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Project, whom I happen to legally represent, and attacking Mr. Chris Mellon, the former entirely constitutionally authorized Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence for both President Clinton and President George W. Bush. Chris Mellon being a man who I personally greatly respect for the courage he has displayed in joining with my client Lou Elizondo to move forward the strategic objective of revealing government information authoritatively verifying A, that a significant percentage of the reliability reported sightings of UFOs over the past decades are in fact real physical vehicles, and B, that the most likely origin of these real UFOs is extraterrestrial. I am issuing this official public statement to make it unequivocally clear that I do not agree with Dr. Stephen Greer's theory that the recent confirmation by our U.S. Defense Department that a clear majority of the 2004 to 2017 reports of UFOs are real physical vehicles is part of some secret plan on the part of our national security state bureaucracy to stage some imminent false flag fake alien invasion. Nor do I agree with Dr. Stephen Greer's public assertions that either Lou Elizondo or Chris Mellon are a part of any such covert plan. I, instead, am firmly convinced that both Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon are engaged in an entirely good faith effort to expose the fact that some members of our United States government are in possession of information that reveals not only that UFOs are real, but that the significant majority of the experts within their U.S. government who are briefed in on any significant portion of the information that our government agencies possess regarding the UFOs or UAP phenomena hold a good faith and well-founded belief that a substantial portion of the reliably reported sightings of UFOs are indeed off-world vehicles of an extraterrestrial origin. And I expressly stated my disagreement with Dr. Greer's representations to the contrary in my April 24th interview. But this statement was edited out of my interview, and what I said about the cabal that is secreting this information was inserted into Dr. Greer's attack on Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon. That made it look like I was attributing them some role in Dr. Greer's projected planned fake alien invasion. I want to make it clear that I am expressly publicly disagreeing with Dr. Greer's characterizations of Luis Elizondo and Christopher Mellon, and I am publicly stating that my statements of April 24th, 2021, made about an entirely different unconstitutional cabal were placed out of context in the documentary film entitled The Great Hoax, which gave the false impression that I was indicating that I believe that my own client, Lou Elizondo, as well as Mr. Christopher Mellon, were privy to and part of such an unconstitutional conspiracy. They are not. So basically what this entire thing says is it's Dr. Stephen Greer putting together a movie to support his information that states that there is some sort of false flag alien invasion that's going to happen by the United States government and governments of the world. What Daniel Sheehan is stating is, no, He does not believe that is actually happening. And stop pointing fingers. Look, we know that Dr. Greer and Luis Elizondo have not got along. Last time we had Elizondo on the air, basically when I asked him about meeting with Stephen Greer, he said, I do not negotiate with terrorists. This is an ugly brouhaha between Luis Elizondo and Dr. Greer, each parting shots publicly on each other, with Daniel Sheehan caught in the middle, representing both Greer and Luis Elizondo. But when you misquote your lawyer, I'm telling you, that was one fine slap across the side of the head that Sheehan gave Dr. Greer. It really was. And the fact that he was quite emphatic about it, the fact that he felt that he needed to write an entire statement publicly on his Facebook page really goes to show that there is some bad tensions brewing in the UFO field. Now, some may say that the reason why Greer is doing it is because this is Greer's livelihood. He makes money off of ET contact and his so-called sources. He charges a lot of money for his CE5 groups that he does to introduce people to alleged extraterrestrials. If this is happening, and he just threw his lawyer under the bus, who I believe works pro bono for him, although I do not have proof of that, this is not very good for Dr. Greer and his reputation at this time. Moving on. NASA is quietly funding a hunt for alien megastructures. Detecting technosignatures such as hypothetical Dyson spheres in space could lead us to extraterrestrial life, and now NASA is funding the search. In the last decade, we have devised amazing instruments to declare unflinchingly at the stars and discovered that other planets are common around them. These exoplanet discoveries have thrown gasoline on the fire of the astrobiology field, where scientists seek to explore whether life might exist beyond Earth, but they have also fueled SETI on the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. If life does evolve on other worlds, then we may very well find out more than just biosignatures like oxygen. We might find technosignatures too. These things are like radio signals or even megastructures, that is, artificial objects on a gigantic scale, such as hypothesized star-sized supercomputers. Now that superclusters reported in an article this week, NASA has quietly begun to fund research for such alien megastructures for the first time in the agency's history, at least that they're public about. Searches for biosignatures have been well funded for the last few decades. In contrast, technosignature funding has had an up and down history. In 1993, NASA famously killed a search program intended to find microwave signals that were of artificial origin. That had a chilling effect for a couple of decades, said Steve Croft, a radio astronomer and leader of the Breakthrough Listen project at the Berkeley SETI Research Center, but there are signs of a thaw. Since 2019, NASA has awarded 4 grants to fund searching for technosignatures. In 2020 of November, NASA awarded a grant to Anne Marie Cody of the NASA Ames Research Center in Croft to survey the whole sky for anomalous objects that transit across stars. It is possible, however, uncertain, that their collaborators will find any artificial intelligence structures out there. Well, at least they're searching. A guy who said he literally experienced hell has recounted his memory of what happened when he was allegedly trapped in the underworld for 23 minutes. Bill Weiss has recalled what happened when, in November 1998, he got up at 3 a.m. to get a drink. Despite thinking he was just heading to the fridge, he actually briefly visited the middle of Earth, where he said he heard millions of people screaming in the depths of hell. He describes the whole thing as an out-of-body experience, saying he was pulled from his body and traveled through hell, or to hell, through a long tunnel. Speaking to Christian broadcaster TCT Network, Bill said, "It was getting hotter and hotter, and I landed on a stone floor in a prison cell in hell. There were stone walls, bars. It was more like a dungeon, a filthy, stinking, smoke-filled dungeon. I'm sure we've all experienced that at 3 a.m. once or twice." He continued that the heat was so unbearable, I wondered how I could be alive. Why am I here? How did I get here? He said that he then saw two enormous demons in the cell, saying they were pacing back around the cell each way. The creatures had a ferocious demeanor, were blaspheming, according to Bill. He explained, and then they directed this hatred that they had towards God and towards me. One demon picked me up and threw me into the wall of his prison cell. I felt as if bones had broken. Now I know a spirit doesn't have bones, but it felt that way. I'm wondering, why am I still alive through this? The other demon dug its claws into my chest and just tore open my flesh. This is actually happening. He said the prison cell then was lit up with what he believed to be God's presence there before it was plunged into darkness again. As if that wasn't bad enough, he was taken out of his cell, put into a random pit of fire. But it wasn't metaphorical flames, he assures us. It was real fire. This is where he could first see people. He said he saw thousands of people in this pit screaming and burning, adding that they looked like skeletons. He said there was various degrees of punishment, and he was kept in isolation, adding the stench in hell is the most foul, putrid, disgusting odor. He likens it to sewers and burning sulfur, and it's toxic to inhale. Does it sound ideal? No, not really. Luckily, Bill has returned to Earth safely and ended up writing a book called 23 Minutes in Hell, which went on to sell more than 1 million copies. We need to get this guy on the air. Dirty Filth, we need to get this guy. Shirky Poo, send that story to Dirty Filth if you don't mind. Hey, great news out of China. Look, we blame China for a lot of stuff, but this is fantastic. Giant panda bears are no longer on the endangered species list. After decades of conservation efforts, Chinese officials have announced it this week. China's efforts over the last half-century to expand giant pandas' habitats helped drive their population in the wild up to 1,800. The species will be reclassified as vulnerable, according to the director of the Department of Natural Ecological Protection of the Ministry of Ecology and Environment. The big picture has China's announcement comes 5 years after the International Union for Conservation and Nature removed giant pandas from the endangered species list. Many Chinese experts were reluctant to do the same, arguing that it was misleading and would cause complacency in China. Since the 1970s, Chinese officials have worked to drive up the species numbers, creating nature reserves in areas where bamboo is plentiful. In 2017, China created a sprawling reserve, 10,476 square miles, that is 3 times the size of Yellowstone National Park. China has established a relatively complete nature reserve system. Large areas of natural ecosystems have been systematically and completely protected, and wildlife habitats have been effectively improved. This is a good thing. You know, really is. Who doesn't like panda bears? How can you not like panda bears? You know what I'm saying? Panda bears are cool. And finally, tonight, animal rescuers in India were summoned to a school. Why? Not for education purposes. Well, they had to relocate a leopard that wandered into the cafeteria after an apparent confrontation with a rival. Rescue group Wildlife SOS said personnel responded alongside the Maharashtra Forest Department to the Jawar Navodaya Vidyalaya, I butchered that, I apologize, school in Takila. Anyways, after maintenance staff at the facility discovered an adult male leopard hiding in the building's cafeteria. The workers closed the doors and windows from the outside to ensure the leopard remained in the cafeteria until rescuers arrived. The leopard was tranquilized and taken to the Wildlife SOS Leopard Rescue Center, where veterinarians determined it had recently been in a violent confrontation with a rival male leopard. So this leopard was literally hiding out, didn't want to get its butt kicked again. Wildlife SOS said the leopard's wounds are being treated and the animal will be rehabilitated back to full health before being released back into the wild. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. What's your opinion on loved ones or pets visiting you from the other side? Magnus. I've had my golden retriever visit me in my dreams. Best dog ever. It makes sense she would visit me. Jeannie. Right after we put our dog down, she followed us home in spirit, and her hound dog, Howl, yelped in the garage and echoed. We all heard it. Ronnie. I believe they do visit us. I had a black cat named Max once that would rattle the cellar door to be left in or out, just like he did before he passed over the bridge. Amber. Happens all the time. We get frequent visits from our cats and grandparents, always when it's needed most. Cheryl. To be honest with you, I'd rather they move on to their next adventure. Kevin. Dave, I have seen glimpses of cats that passed on early, and not only have I witnessed them, but my other cats have appeared to watch them move across the room by turning their heads to follow their movement along with me. Tyler. I sure hope so. John. Dave, I have experienced this twice, and these were physical visitations, and one I actually got in touch with my pet. Very cool. Very cool. Wendy. Furry members of the family definitely visit after they've passed. Serena. Yes, 100%. Have had both visit after. Parents, friends, pets. It's always reassuring. Karen Smurl. 100% happens. Too many experiences to believe otherwise, not just in my space and from my loved ones, but in other space from their loved ones. It's one thing to smell a familiar smell like a pipe smoke from a grandfather, but to smell the pipe smoke, have the lights flicker, and then his favorite song or his favorite rocking chair begin to rock more than slightly, now that's something. Joe. I'm certain that family visits, I've had several of my dogs visit, and every once in a while, I can hear my horse hanging out. It's got aliens too, Joe does. Lori. No biggie. They check up on me visiting, then go on their merry way. Doesn't bother me. Sometimes get info on how to fix something. I know my dead husband knew how to fix, so it's all good. Oh, I'm loving these stories, by the way. Dave, my dog visited me 2 weeks before she passed in astral form. Vivian, my visit from my dead mother and grandmother was to help the healing process along the way. Jennifer gets the final word. Actually, we probably got time for a couple more. Brian, they do visit. Jim, pizza? Okay. John, all conscious beings reincarnate. All conscious beings have time between lives and can spend their time here or there as they choose. Jennifer gets the final word. Years ago, I had my little chihuahua pass, and for about a week afterwards, I could hear her little toenails walking across the hardwood floors. That's everybody for the Thought of the Dave on Facebook and Twitter. We'll do it all again next time. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the great news, and of course to Brandon Wainwright and his ghostly dog Tyson for coming on in and telling their story tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. So get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Reminder, each and every one of you listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be, we appreciate you tuning us on in. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Twitch, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and all the snarkers and snarkettes hanging out on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Have a good one. That was a good show, people. All around, start to finish. Good show, good news, good comments on the thought of the Dave. That was a real good show. Solid. Hey, Super Quest, how you doing, buddy? Let's see here. And what the hell? What am I trying to do? Let's go like that. That's what I needed. I love bringing on new guests like that and just having them come in and hammer and do awesome. I love it. Who else was new in here? Looney, what's going on? Michael Haywood, how you doing, man? Edens, how are you? Okay, I'll be right back. I got to pee. Be right back. I'm not dying until I'm like 85, 86. Then I'll check out. All right. Well, good. The show actually loaded. How we all doing on this Friday night, early Saturday morning? I guess Saturday morning now. Unless you're in Alaska or Hawaii, then it's still Friday. Perfect. There we go. Let's go like this. And like this. It's a date today. It is the 9th. All right, let's do this thing. Let us edit. Any questions? Feel free to ask. Put them in capital letters. Makes my life easier. I'd appreciate it. By the way, I'm going to announce here that starting Monday night, we're going to have a new feature in the news section every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are going to be bringing in John Hudson. He was a guest a couple weeks ago with Michael W. Hall on the Sunday show. And we're going to be doing UFO updates because, you know, there's a lot of people out there who look to us for UFO updates on what's happening around the UFO world. And with our show, the way we do things, we cannot dedicate all of our programming to just UFOs. As popular as the subject is right now, we can't do that. So what we can do is we can bring that type of news to you on a, you know, every couple of nights. So that's what we're going to be doing with John. And I'm really looking forward to that because John is a very smart man who has a lot of he's always searching around, looking for news. The segment is going to be about 15 minutes long on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So that way we can keep you fully up to date on UFO news as it is happening. And it's not going to take away from the news wire that we do on a nightly basis. We're still going to be doing that. Captain Shirk is still going to do an incredible job at keeping the news up to date. But while this whole UFO stuff is going on for the next little while, I want to try and bring this out because, like, I just can't do everything. And with the wonderful team we have around here that really supports what we do on a nightly basis, you know, we have to have eyes everywhere. And with me having a daytime job and, you know, I can't be skipping into the UFO stuff throughout the day, you know, because in the end, one second here. I believe that's the start of it. Hold on. Okay, why do we have a break right there? Oh, I sneezed. That's why. Okay, that's where my sneeze was. All right. Anyways, so this way we're able to keep you guys up to date. I don't have time to be doing it all the time. I want to, but unfortunately, I don't want to drop the ball either, because that's not fair to those who trust us for that information, and it's not fair to those who have the information. So John's in the chat room right there. There he is, John Hudson, otherwise known as Stetson John around here. And John will be taking over that feature. I'm very, very proud that he has decided to join the SOR team and be our UFO guy. I really look forward to that. Michael Haywood, I would love to drop the daytime job. Trust me, I would, but there's just way this job here, doing this on a nightly basis, definitely does not pay me enough. And in the end, I have a roof to pay for over my head. I've got hair product to buy. D Swagger, how are you? And that's pretty much it. Did I cut that off? Undo. I totally did. So it's kind of how it's going to work. I think it's going to be a great feature for you guys. You guys are going to know, and our other listeners around the world are going to know what is happening with UFOs on a daily or on a bi-daily basis. And John, like I said, he is very up to date with what's happening. Like, for a lot of you who are not on Twitter, there is a lot of daily information that gets dropped on UFO Twitter, which is a hashtag UFO Twitter. And sometimes the pieces are really low and small, and other times they're massive, like they were tonight with Daniel Sheehan. So I think this is going to be a great addition to what we do on a nightly basis. It's going to keep us at the forefront of what's going on. It's also something that nobody else is doing, which is cool. And I'm very, very excited about it. And I hope you guys are too. So we're going to try it out on Monday. And Davey Crotch Kick, where have you been hiding? Where have you been hiding? So, yeah, John, welcome aboard, man. Welcome aboard. You're going to do a great job. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good feature. Cloudy with a chance of UFOs. Dave, do you like chocolate digestive biscuits? No. No, I do not. I don't eat a lot of chocolate. Or especially ones that will make me poo. No. Don't have any troubles there either. Any questions about the new feature? Am I still accepting stories, D Swagger? Yes, I am. We haven't done one in a long time, but it's something that we'd love to do again. And I will talk to Gary about that. Gotcha, Davey. Well, it's good to have you back, man. We've missed you. I want what Eva's on tonight. Which moth? I haven't seen it. I think there's a little one flying by right around now. It's been a pain in the ass. I don't know where it went. What's your thoughts on Tyler from Secure Team 10 now that he's back doing videos? I'm very reserved in my thoughts on Tyler. I think he has a lot of demons that he needs to be working on. The allegations that he threw out there, I don't believe them for a second. If he's went and got help, then all the power to him. All the power to him. He is, he went through some major troubles, including, a DUI, and where he smashed up his Jeep. He was charged with spousal abuse. And that's not a good thing. So I hope he went and got help. And if he got help and he can straighten out his own life and his personal demons, then no problem. But I mean, the big thing with Tyler is he's got to stop posting false videos. There's not many people, if any, that I know of that trust him at all in this field. And he needs to repair that reputation. He really does. And that's on him. It's on him to do that. And we'll see if he's man enough to do that. Any other questions from you? Thanks, Jordan. Appreciate the warning about the moth. Do you believe in life after death? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Watts, thank you so much for that super chat. Really appreciate that. How you been, Lots? I already know they are, Nikki. Nikki is asking something I just experienced tonight. What would you do if you found out other family members were abductees? Yeah, I already do know. So far, so good on that end. You know what I love? I love it when people go on social media and then accuse me of blocking them from the channel. So Julian tonight, who was being a little bit of a pain in the butt, has gone on Twitter and stated that, let me bring it up here because it's kind of funny. Stated, your F last hours of nobody was a shame, man. Block me all you want. You know deep I am right. First off, Julian, you weren't blocked. I asked you to calm down and keep focus on the show. But I don't know where you were blocked because you weren't. You weren't even given a timeout. People were muting you because they were getting annoyed. So don't blame me for you having a snit fit. You know, it's like Beehive Chuckles. He goes by Chuck Bam. He used to come into the chat room. He goes around telling everybody that I banned him from the room. I can show you my banned list. They're not on there. He was never banned. The imaginations of some of these people are incredible. Yes, Julian is Contour Cosmique. Right? I don't ban people unless you're trolling this room. Julian's been a listener, as annoying as he can be. Julian's been a listener for like 3 years, maybe longer. All right. And to each their own. Everybody can listen to the show the way they want. All right. But I'm telling you right now, you're not banned. Don't make up stories that you're banned. You were never banned. Everybody blocked you because they were tired of the spamming of posts of ... So don't blame me for that. Tired of that shit. I do have chat police to make sure that well, like I've said to you before, the chat room is not a democracy. It is a Daveocracy or Daveunism, whatever you want to call it. There are certain things we don't put up with. Okay? No harassment of the guest. No harassment of people in the room. All right? No racism. No politics. No making fun of people's sexual orientation. That's it. That's it. Otherwise, just have a good time. It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. The chat police are the wrenches. Yes, Nikki. Howard, if you want to troll, just make the snark funny. Hi, gorgeous Jean Beckett. Have you ever interviewed, hey, gorgeous Larry and Jello, how are you? Have you ever interviewed a total skeptic like a Philip Class type on the program? No, I have not. The big reason for that is our show is not about that type. Now I've thought about doing it, but when I look deep into it, our show is not really about that type of programming. And it's one of those things where I've wondered, should we do it? Should we not? If we do it, what is the purpose of doing it? And, is it going to benefit what we want to do long term and, what we do on a nightly basis? And I'm still not quite sure about that. Like I thought about asking Mick West to come on the show, but does he really need more publicity? Because this is a guy, usually a lot of skeptics like Philip Klass or Mick West, Keith Kluwer, they are no matter what you tell them, what kind of evidence you give them, they're not going to believe the story anyways. Hey, Typical Watch, how are you? They're not going to believe it. They don't want to believe it. That's kind of the problem with it. Now, if you want to have a good discussion over it, I'm quite okay with that. I really am quite okay. But you just need to, with the skeptics, there's a difference between being a skeptic and being an asshole. And I don't know if our show format fits that. I really don't. I will think about it, though. Stu Gerson, why do you think there is so much fighting and disagreement in the UFO community? That answer is actually quite easy, Stu. Very easy. And I've learned this through watching other people, and I've learned this from personal experiences where I've had attacks come on me. And the biggest issue is communication. People don't want to communicate anymore. They want to be able to stand on their soapbox and say, I'm mad or I'm offended or or anything like that. And that's what they want to do. They don't want to have humanized conversations. They want to do things over text message. And then when you go to text them back, we always read text. There's always the ability to read text messages wrong. This is why anything to do with business, I've instructed my team that anything to do with business, we talk over the phone. If you have an issue with me, we talk over the phone. If you have an issue with another team member, we talk over the phone. And that's the way it gets done with me. Okay. This is why I hate the text messaging. Because it's a cheap way to hide everything that's out there. It really is a cheap way to hide everything that's going on. And I don't want to be a part of that. And I realize me being out in front, I will be a part of that no matter what. It sucks, but it is what it is. And I look at it as, if you have an issue with me, come talk to me. I'm very easy to get along. I really am. And I'm not about to, take shots at anybody or whatever. I mean, there's people almost nightly who are bashing me when we have listeners who go into that show, right? Oh, well, our listeners are there. The only thing that offends me is when listeners go into that show, bash me or SOR, and then come into our chat room and try and be friendly with everybody. I don't like that. That bugs me. You know, and that one hurts. But I mean, as for anything else regarding the community, it's all about communication, Stu. It's all about communication. And, you know, if you don't want to communicate, there's always going to be problems, right? Always going to be problems. And it's the way it is. That's why somebody has an issue with me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I'm not doing the texting thing. You can get me on the phone. We can do FaceTime. We can do Zoom. We can do behind the scenes on StreamYard. Let's talk about it. Got Skype? Let's talk about it. Right? So, you know, unfortunately, that's how relationships are these days. Nobody wants to deal with things head to head. Everybody wants to deal with things via text message. And to me, that's not cool. And the other issue is, Stu, is everybody thinks everybody has an agenda. We have to get off this agenda. Not everybody has an agenda. You know, the people who bash Elizondo think that if you support Elizondo like we do on this show, that obviously we're part of the cabal or we're part of the agenda. No, I've just taken the time to talk to Luis Elizondo. And if you look at the majority of people who complain about him, they've never spoken to him. They have never spoken to him. Howard, let me find your email right now. Let me go into my box here. Howard. Howard S. This I'm going to check out. 2 different people, many years apart, same result, observation. If it requires, okay, there's videos there. I'll try and check it out, Howard. My time is really limited right now. So I apologize that I didn't email you back. That's my fault. That's on me. Just been caught up with my daytime job and everything recently. So, yeah. Anyways, Stu, I hope that's a good enough answer for you. I kind of think I know where you were leaning with that. And in regards to that other program, I respect the person who creates that program. It's a tough job what he does. I wish he wasn't so abashing and abrasive on people, but that's the style. And he's having very good success, and I hope he continues with that success. We need someone who has that type of abrasiveness at times to call out the bullshit in this community. And, you know, I think it's fantastic. I'm not a follower. I'm not a listener. I was, but not anymore. I had someone approach me a couple weeks ago on whether or not I'd be interested in patching that up. No, this is like the 4th time that has happened. And first time, you know, you get over it. Second time, you get over it. Third time, you get over it. 4th time, I don't have any more patience for it. So, but it doesn't mean that there's a lack of respect on the work ethic and the programming that's there. And I hope he does very, very well because he works hard at it. So I will leave it at that, if you don't mind. Yeah. Thanks, James. Yes, I do work a full-time daytime job. And sometimes it gets to me. Like I haven't been able to practice guitar in a week. I'm trying, but sometimes I get tired. It's true. Every now and again, I get tired. Right? So, any other questions before we call it the night? Please let me know. Am I married? No. But I am in a long-term common law relationship. Shake my head. Fine, I'll take this out anyways. There you go. There's the hair. Yeah. All right. Hold on. Howard, what hat? What hat? Now I got to go look again. Hold on. Typical watch. We'll get to yours in a second here. Howard. Where's Howard's? Howard. Howard, check this out. Is that the same one? I only got 2 emails from you, Howard. What one about a hat? Forgive me, Howard. The hat I returned to the family. Yeah, I sent that out, and I don't even know if they got it. I'm assuming they did because I never heard back from them. I know they were planning on putting it in a museum. There's a museum that has up in Cold Lake, Alberta, that has a dedication to the desert cats. And that's as far as I ever heard. Typical watch. My opinion on Bigfoot. Definitely real. I'm still not sure if it's a full-on creature or if there's something supernatural to it, but it is special. Definitely special. What that is, I don't know. Larry, what was the lady name who you gave your hair to? That was Lisa Marie, who never had a wig made out of my hair. I don't know why. I don't know the reasoning. I just know that a wig was never made with the hair that I donated to her. And she's blocked actually from this chat room, not because of that, but because of the fact that I don't tolerate people in other chat rooms going in there and bashing this show and myself, and then coming into our chat room or disappearing from our chat room and then coming back. Oh, hi, everybody. I've been busy. I miss you and all this. Sorry, I don't put up with that. I don't put up with that at all. Yeah, the entire Okanagan is desert. There's desert right above me in Williams Lake. There's actually a lot of desert area here. Oh, excuse me. Where the big fires in Lytton were, that's all desert, even though it's in the mountains. Yeah. I'm just above the desert where I live. But yeah, there's a lot of desert around here. Oh, my hair probably got thrown in the trash. I don't know. Whatever. I know it was still the right thing to do. And I have no ill will towards that. Stu Gerson, just so you know, there was one listener who comes into this chat room on a nightly basis, and I'm not going to say who it is or who it was, that donated about $800 to that cause. And she also told me that the wig was that a lady who was going to make the wig all of a sudden couldn't do it. But like I said, I'm not bashing her for the hair. Hair is hair. Look, I'm growing it again. You know, I just don't like people going into other chat rooms, bashing me, and then playing our listeners and myself as fools, coming in here and acting all nice and gentle and kind. That's not fair. It's not. I don't care about me. I care about our listeners. Hey, Stephen Bonang in Nova Scotia. How you doing? And there's been a few of those listeners who've done that. So we have a good family here, and I don't care who listens to what show. I really don't care who listens to what show. If you're listening to that show or other shows or different shows, what network, but don't sit there and bash me in one room and then come into ours and try and be buddy buddy with everybody. That's not fair to our listeners. And I think everybody would agree with that. And I think that's a fair comment. Cosmic, have you heard Mark Barton's experience with Bigfoot from the trail of Bigfoot? No, I haven't. I don't think I'm being absolutely TFE. I don't think I'm being trite at all. Well, the twist of the beast of LBL story? No, I haven't, Mondak. Fill me in on that one. I will try and get David Politis on the show again. I just don't know if he's doing that many interviews ever since his son committed suicide. I got 5 more minutes for you guys here. And then I got to get off to bed because I do have to work in the morning. Clam, I'm surprised you're here on a Friday night. Usually you got your movie night going on. His son committed suicide, 4 or 5 months ago? Yeah, I don't know the extent of it. I just know that that's what happened. And I just, I reached out to Dave, sending condolences. And I haven't really tried reaching out since. I just don't feel comfortable in doing that right now. I may wait and see if he starts doing more interviews with other people before we reach out to him again. See you, the Michael Leger. January. Thank you, Cosmic. And David and his son Ben were really, really close. Really close. We got 2 minutes, people. Any further questions before we get ready to say goodnight here? Thank you, Jello. Appreciate that. Don't forget, tomorrow night on the show with Lynn Wallington. Lynn's also filling in for Michael on Sunday. He took another week off. So Lynn will have tomorrow night, Tom Whitmore talking MJ12. And then Sasquatch Talk on the 11th, which is Sunday, which will be Thomas Seawood. And then I'm back with Michael Huntington on Monday. I got to try and find a guest. Our guest for next Friday just backed out, so I'll try and find a guest for that. We'll see if we can sneak someone in there, but we'll get her done. So we got a good week of shows this week, everyone, and it's going to be good. Much love to everybody tonight coming into the chat room. Thank you to Brandon Wainwright, our guest. Thank you to Carl, Josh, Mennonite Abe, Michael, Magnus ×2, Snakes, Vinster, Steve from Australia, and lots from the UK for the super chats tonight. We really do appreciate the support, and we appreciate you guys. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Enjoy Lynn on the weekends, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. She gets going. See you guys.